Negative XP, half Abigail posting.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live here tonight with Ramadan Steve and Mark After Dark. And tonight we are talking.
Oh, God, hey.
Yeah, hey. How's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up?
So tonight we are.
Oh.
Tonight we're going to talk about a few things. First off, I just want to give my very brief thoughts on Tenet, and Steve, you can give yours too. We won't spend too much time on that. And then we're going to go right into I'm thinking about ending things. If you haven't seen my video yet, honestly, what are you doing here?
I mean, two people already admitted they haven't seen it.
Yeah, two people. Yeah, I guess so. Watch the video in the stream, and then you can like act like you've seen it. You know, I guess that's the YouTube way. Yeah. So then afterwards, we'll just kind of, if we still feel like streaming, we might just kind of do general topics, like I'm talking about cuties or something. That controversy.
God.
Have you seen it?
No.
Steve did.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately.
But
Get started
people
E-Pop
gonna-
so we can get him in here too.
Oh yeah, EPUB saw it. So maybe that's what we'll end with. We'll get the Kino critics to come in from the Cahiers du Cinéma 2 to talk about Mignon. And yeah, so that's how we'll end it. We'll have a little bit of a controversial ending. And
Yeah.
so anyways, Tenet, I saw it last weekend in IMAX because I was told, it was shot on IMAX film. Привет, Peter, как дела? Хорошо. And so I'm just responding to Jay here. So I saw it in IMAX because it was shot on IMAX film, and when I see something in the cinema, I always want to see it how it was like meant to be seen, right? Like, so if it's on IMAX, sometimes with these IMAX movies, they're shot on just like normal ARRI Alexas, and they're just blown up for IMAX, and I'm just not really interested in seeing a film that's blown up and, you know what I mean, like too big. So I'm very picky with movies that I do see in IMAX, but it's shot on IMAX film, and so I was like, all right, I'll go see it. Every Nolan film is kind of an experience in that sort of way.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, the movie is a very pretty film. Like, Nolan has a really good way of shooting things, but the characters, there wasn't a whole lot to the characters. The characters were all fairly shallow. It was very plot driven. I did like the idea of kind of reversing time rather than like going back in time. Like, it's time travel sort of logic. Now, time travel logic really never makes that much sense, but it's time travel logic within the film made sense within the kind of the structure of the film. And so it didn't, like, it's kind of hard to follow at first, and then there is a certain point during the movie where it clicks and you're just like, all right, I understand what's going on now. There's still some, obviously with most time travel stuff, there's going to be inconsistencies, there's going to be stuff like that. So there's still stuff like that. I mean, my main problems with it had to do with the characters being very shallow, the villain being basically a Bond villain with a bad Russian accent. And a lot of people it's like, it's Kenneth Branagh. He's not actually Russian. And it does come across as an Englishman doing a Russian accent rather than
That's one thing that always tends to kind of get my nerves of movies is when you have like a foreign character that's obviously not being played by a foreign actor.
Yeah, and it's just like, why didn't they hire a Russian actor for that? Like, there are a lot of Russian actors, and you already have stars in the sense of Robert Pattinson, and I guess maybe John David Washington or whatever. And I mean, for a Nolan movie, the only star you need is Nolan. Like, people see it because it's Christopher Nolan. I mean, Dunkirk, the main character, nobody really knew who he was. So, yeah, I didn't really get that, and the audio stuff too. The whole like audio issues. That was true. The villain. It is a very sort of like Bond like movie, I guess, in the sense that, like, the villain does have this speech near the end, like the villain's monologue sort of thing, without spoiling anything. He has this monologue sort of thing, and you can hear maybe 30% of it. Like, you're sort of like, what's he saying? That's what I was thinking. I was like...
yeah, if I ever rewatch this film, I'm going to need to watch it with subtitles.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what he's saying. And it really took away from that scene. And also, without spoiling it too, once you realize something in the movie, and Steve, you'll know what I'm talking about. Once you realize something, you realize, like, the movie loses all of its tension. It only takes, like, a very, like, simple, logical sort of, thought to where you go, oh, okay. And then the movie there's no longer any tension in the film. So I don't want to spoil it here because I know some of you haven't seen it. But otherwise, though, I thought it was a fun movie. I wasn't looking at my phone during it. So I wasn't checking the time, which is good. I thought it entertained for the 2.5 hours. I think it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, this is kind of a tangent, unrelated to what you're saying, but I was watching with a group of friends, and one person just opened their phone and went onto Twitter with fucking light mode, and I literally was like, dude, stop.
Oh man, light mode. You should just
break
their phone for having light mode.
To use your phone in the theater, don't be on fucking light mode, you piece of shit.
I'm always on dark mode anyways. Like, the light mode of anything blinds my eyes. I don't understand it.
That reminds me of when I went and saw the last Avengers movie, and there was a guy in front of me who whipped out Tetris and just played that for the entirety of the entire fucking film. I was like, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" He's like, he was just playing some fucking mobile game the entire show, and I don't mean like stop to look up every once in a while. His focus was the game. He just needed like some quiet time to play Tetris.
Was he like taking his kids or something, or?
No, he was all by himself. Why
didn't waste money on the ticket?
I don't know. He had to play some Tetris in with some peace and quiet, I guess. And he was at the front of the theater too, like those like front seats that nobody ever wants.
Oh yeah.
He was there, so everyone was like getting his like phone rays in their eyes. And he was just fucking like typing away and just playing like some awesome session of Tetris. He just could not put down for like 2.5 hours or however long that movie is.
I mean, that might have been a better entertainment experience for him than watching Endgame.
Yeah,
in my mind canon, Infinity War was the end. I'm like, Endgame kind of like. I'm not a huge fan of any Marvel film, if I'm going to be honest here. I just kind of see them as all fairly middle-of-the-road movies. Like, they are what they are. They do exactly what you want them to do. But Endgame for me was so cringy. The whole, like, that's America's ass. I kind of wanted to, like, punch my TV when I heard that line. I wanted to be like, shut the fuck up!
Yeah, actually, you know what? I'm starting to think that guy wasn't actually there for the movie. You just wanted to get some popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, these theater seats are comfy, They
were. They were like AVX seats. They were like nice and leather and like or some sort of pleather or something like that. But they were really comfy, like top tier, top shelf fucking seats with a lot of like leg room and stuff. And he was
exactly.
He just wanted to play some Tetris.
He's paying for the comfort. I'm going to answer some stuff in stream. Dylan says, time travel logic doesn't make sense. Have you seen Bill and Ted 1? It's the GOAT of time travel logic. Yes, I have seen Bill and Ted 1. And if I can go on a very small tangent here, when I was in high school, I was a little bit obsessed with Bill and Ted. So my first short films were like fan videos of Bill and Ted, where my friend and I would play as Bill and Ted. Going back to different places or into certain things or whatever. Yeah, so I have seen Bill. I like Bill and Ted. It's fun. I haven't seen the new Bill and Ted though. I'm just so like I know Red Letter Media said that it's like they said they didn't fuck it up, but at the same time I don't know. I'm just sort of very apprehensive to watch it. Joseph says, wait, Are you gonna spoil I'm thinking of ending things on this live stream? Yes! Yes, I am!
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
we're
am!
about to go down to like 3 viewers now.
Yeah, so go watch it. Go watch it on Netflix. Unless you cancel Netflix, then watch it some other way.
Yeah, watch it on the piratebay.org.
No, don't
I was
do
gonna
that.
say that's yeah, show some fucking love and support to real fucking directors and writers and stuff. I was gonna say that's the only complaint I have about, like, I know we'll get into it later or something like that at the end of the pod or the end of the cast and stuff, but like the whole cuties controversy, everyone's like cancel Netflix, and people are like in solidarity they're literally canceling their subscription. I'm like, just watch I'm thinking about anything and then bounce out. Just get like that last, like, give a good movie support.
You've already paid for it.
Like, the world has not been kind to Charlie Kaufman in terms of like revenue and returns.
In terms of
like that. Like, please.
In terms of life.
Yeah, and please.
Just in general.
My boy needs a win.
I mean, like, have you seen his movies? The man is not doing well.
I don't think you can name a single Kaufman film that isn't depressing.
Yeah, how did you get more depressed than fucking Synecdoche, New York? Like, I thought it was impossible.
Actually, I still think his most depressing film is Anomalisa. Like, that movie just made me just want to off myself. I was like, holy shit, I am not watching this movie again.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw Being John Malkovich, I had no fucking clue who Charlie Kaufman was going into it. So I was just expecting, like, oh, it's just gonna be some cool movie, right? And then to get to the end where, they're driving away and the one girl's like, fuck off, Craig. And I was just like, oh, it's one of those movies.
Well, and he's like the dog at the end watching Cameron Diaz and the other lady. Like, they're in a relationship now. And
I was not expecting that movie to hit me as hard as it did.
But here's the thing that I was saying on the server before we get into I'm thinking of ending things. This is a nice segue. Is that I think that Kaufman's movies that he writes but he doesn't direct, I think are generally better because the directors that have picked up his scripts are happier than Kaufman is. So like. Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine, The Spotless Mind, they're all filmed with, especially Adaptation and Eternal Sunshine, they're all filmed with this like warmth. There is a coldness sometimes, but Spike Jonze is a very sort of like energetic, optimistic person, and that does come through, and I think it kind of like that direction does sort of counterbalance the really depressing Kaufman script. And I think that the same thing can be said of Michel Gondry with Eternal Sunshine, that he just has this very, very kind of warm, beautiful way of shooting things, almost like a DIY aesthetic, because he also had that great film, Be Kind, Rewind, that I really like. And
yeah, thank you. I fucking love that movie. I've gotten chaff for it my entire life. People are like, oh, you like that movie? Because I don't know what they expected. I guess the trailer, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm actually, there's going to be a big Kino Corner video. My 10,000 subscriber special is a Be Kind Rewind video that's going to, that is...
Oh, fuck.
That is me and my friends, we did a whole bunch of, like, parodies of all sorts of movies, like, and it has some cameos by, like, Rusty Cage. And
nice.
Internet Historian.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it has some of my like other YouTuber friends cameo in it, and it's gonna be fun. It's just basically like my analysis of it is just like basically making a sweeted version of Be Kind Rewind is the analysis of Be Kind Rewind, because it is a movie that's a very sort of like just this love for filmmaking kind of all throughout it, and a love for watching movies and a love for making movies, and yeah, I really like that movie. But anyways, getting to I'm Thinking of Ending Things. If you guys have seen my video, then you'll sort of know, like, maybe where we're, like, picking up in this stream. So my video, I think that my video pretty much is like a summary. It's like I try to hit the big points, like, here's this big idea, here's this other big idea, here's this other big idea, and kind of get you to think about it. And during this stream, what we're going to do is we're going to dive a little bit deeper into things and talk a little bit about the nitty gritty. So both of you have seen it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know, Mark, you've seen it twice, and Steve, you watched it this morning.
Yep.
And it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's got a 50% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is depressing. I don't know what's more depressing, that or the movie.
Oh man.
Leave my man Charlie Kaufman alone, guys.
Yeah, like maybe we'll delve into it more, but like I had a session last night with one of my really good friends, and we literally just ran through reviews and laughed at them. And like it just the most like red letter media sort of like covers where it's just like, I didn't get it, but it's stupid and I'm smart, and like just like the fucking worst. It's like, it's fine if you didn't get it, you didn't have a good time, but a lot of the times it's just like, actually, speaking of Nolan, I guess this relates back, but I remember being a Blockbuster when that was still around. It was like right before they closed them down, but it was Inception was on the shelves, and two guys were standing there, and one guy went like, "Oh, have you seen Inception?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I fucking hated it. It was so stupid. I didn't get it." And the other guy went, "No, I got it. It was just stupid." I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" It's just kind of that. That's the reactions I've been seeing from a lot of people when it comes to this movie. Like they either didn't or didn't get it, but they're still like really mad. At least not everybody, but obviously I'd say like half the people that watched it.
Yeah, and I've seen the word pretentious thrown out a lot, and it seems like the people that don't like it, they really don't like it, and then the people that like it really like it. It's a very polarizing film in that regard, and I think that people think it's pretentious because it's like, because of the fact that she's changing characters, that she is, but like, okay, so if we're gonna jump right to it, when she is giving the film review of A Woman Under the Influence, that wasn't written by Charlie Kaufman. That's an actual film review from The New Yorker by Pauline Kael. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was meant to sound like, the whole point, it was meant to be pretentious. Like Kaufman was sort of, this is how I see it at least, and you guys could have a different opinion, but you have Jake, who's sitting there, who says that the film resonated emotionally with him, right? And then you have Pauline Kael, essentially, sitting next to him, saying, "Oh, but the idiot symbolism," or they slap the Band-Aid on, and oh, she's doing so much. It's a tour de force for, like 10 actresses, but then it's meaningless at that point. And it's all these sort of like these criticisms that don't really say anything about the movie. And at the end of that, he goes, "You must be the expert on cinema." And she's like, "I am." And it's like, it kind of goes to this criticism I have of a lot of critics, where their criticism of a movie isn't meant to criticize the movie, but is meant to make themselves look smart. And that is pretentious. Yeah. And I think that it's kind of calling out that sort of intellectualism as pretentious, where he's like, it emotionally resonated with me, like it made me feel this, it made me feel, you know what I mean? And that's really what a movie should do. And that's kind of like why in my review, I'm just like, you can pick apart this movie all day long, but at the end, really what you take away from the movie is how it moves you, and like how all of it moves you. And I think that that's a big sort of thing that goes throughout the film. Like even going to the paintings where he's like, "But you need a person looking sad."
Yeah, it's so funny that the movie is really littered with a lot of like preemptive strikes for bad takes and bad reviews. It's so funny. It guards itself, and then like the irony of it is that so many people took the fucking bait, and they're like, "This movie is pretentious, not because it lacks meaning and like by definition is pretentious, but I didn't get it. It was obscure. I didn't like it. Fuck this movie." Yeah, I just think that the guy who made it is up his ass. It's like, that's it.
Yeah, when it's totally not. And like, but I think that people just are not used to, in films, like having these literary or old film references. Like when they started talking about A Woman Under the Influence, I am a humongous Cassavetes fan. Like, I love the films of John Cassavetes, and I've seen a lot of them. Like I love Love Streams, Killing of a Chinese Bookie, A Woman Under the Influence, Face of Shadows, like all those films. I watched Mikey and Nikki a few weeks back and really loved that. That was amazing. So for me, I mean, A Woman Under the Influence, that's in my wheelhouse. That's in the wheelhouse of a lot of like cinema people, I guess. But maybe if you're like a normal moviegoer, you're not watching these independent movies from the 70s. So you're thinking, I don't know what this movie is. It's some art film. If you watch it, it's not an art film. Like it's just a really good drama, you know. It's not like some obscure art film. You know, I think that people just see these references also to David Foster Wallace, maybe her saying the poem. Like, I'm trying to think of like how people could see it as pretentious, but the actual meaning of pretentious is like thinking that you're great when you're meaningless, like thinking that you are full of meaning, or thinking that you're way better than you actually are. But I don't think that the film meaning. Yeah, I don't think that the film actually ever tries to do that. I don't think it tries to like be anything other than itself.
I'm very much under the impression that the movie has a very clear and concise message, but with things like how it ends, it leaves things up to interpretation. And I think that actually, unlike the book, because I had to look up this later on, but in the actual novel that this is adapted by, it actually straight up tells you the answers in the book.
Yeah, it does.
There's a moment where the characters literally just go, "Oh, so this is why this is happening," like almost like says it to the viewer. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. It's just but with the film, it really does kind of leave it up to interpretation. You really do, like, Kaufman really does put the puzzle pieces in front of you.
Yeah.
And expects you to pick them up and place them in the right order in a way. And that's like, and you know what? Both ways of telling this story are absolutely fine. It doesn't invalidate the other version. Like if you prefer the book over the movie, vice versa, that's completely fine. But like I appreciate a lot, at least on a personal level, a storyteller who gives you 2 + 2 but doesn't give you 4. I think it's the old saying.
Yeah, how the book actually operated was sort of weird. So how Kaufman did it is he foreshadows a lot of this stuff. So we see the janitor at the very beginning of the movie, and that janitor story is going on simultaneously to the story of the film. And Jake talks about Oklahoma, and it literally cuts to the janitor watching them put on the play of Oklahoma. And so he's creating this sort of visual connection between the two. There's also the scene, there's the shot when they get to the farm where it kind of like zooms in on the stables, and within that same motion, it cuts to the school halls and you see Jake. So it's making all these visual connections between Jake and the janitor. So it is sort of bridging that. How it does it in the book is that it's done as like this, like M. Night Shyamalan style twist, like at the very end. Like the janitor doesn't factor into the book at all until the end. There's like these like inter-chapter sort of sections of like maybe like 2 paragraphs max, where it's just like you don't really know what's going on. They're talking about this guy at the school that killed himself, and you know, you find out that he's a janitor, but there's really no story. It's just sort of like people whispering to each other, what did you know about that guy? Oh, I heard this, you know. And then you get to the chapter and it's all told from, the whole book is told from her story, her perspective. But also in the book is, the janitor wrote the book. So it's supposed to be like he wrote the book and then he killed himself. So he wrote the book as a self-insert. The whole stuff in the house where the parents get old, that doesn't happen in the book. It plays out a lot more like a normal dinner in the book. I mean, there's weird stuff that happens. She does go into the basement. She finds these really creepy paintings that he does. And there's a self-portrait, and then that's when she's in the school. She looks at that. I could be misremembering this, but I think she looks at that self-portrait and says, like, that's a self-portrait of me. She starts referring to herself as Jake, and then that's when, like, but the whole ending is done as, like, this slasher thing where it's, like, the janitor's chasing her around the school trying to kill her. And they kind of incorporated that into the movie, but in the dance sequence. And I thought that was a lot better done, because the tone in the book, it just becomes straight up horror. And then it's like, then she kills herself, but actually it was the janitor that killed himself by taking a clothes hanger and, like, 2 prongs from a clothes hanger and shoving it up his head.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that about the book.
It's a completely different tone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very different. There's only a few things in the movie. Like, so the movie follows the general structure where, actually, in the book, they're in the car for a lot longer than they're in the movie. So it's like the first 60 or 70 pages of, like, a 180-page book. I mean, something like that. First 60 or 70 pages, maybe it's a 200-page book, but first 60 or 70 pages are in that car ride. So they shortened that down, and they put some of the stuff, like some of the conversations that were in the car ride, they put that in the house, like at the dinner. They don't spend that much time at the house. The farm stuff, like with the dead lambs and with the pig, that was in the book. But it starts to really diverge, at the dinner. I would say. Then Kaufman kind of just makes it, like, then Kaufman just starts doing his own thing, and he keeps the structure, the general structure where it's like the dinner, then they get back in the car, they stop in the book it's Dairy Queen, but in the movie it's the fake Dairy Queen.
What was it called?
It was
like something town.
Yeah, with the clown mascot.
Yeah, so it was that
Tootsie Town or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something like that. So, and then they go to the school, and he goes there to throw away the burgers or whatever they're called, the shakes,
the Oreo shakes.
Yeah, I got my Sonic. It's kind of melted Sonic Blast.
Yeah, you should probably dump that before it gets sticky in the cup holders.
Yeah.
I love, actually, that one part fucking played to me so fucking bad, my OCD, of like him just looking at them and getting aggressively mad at just like, it's gonna make the cup holders sticky, and he's getting so fucking pissed off at these ice creams melting.
Frosty
I was
Town.
like, I know, yeah, Frosty Town.
Yeah.
I know he's like kind of like a freak at that point, and you're actually like supposed to be scared of him. But I was kind of just like, dude, me too, bro.
When
like,
he's just going like, when he just starts like hitting the steering wheel. Top 10 spur out moments, and I'm thinking of ending things.
No, dude, just
Welcome back to Watch Mojo Got Tom.
Top 10 spurgs.
He also did that where he's like, it's the Genus Edition.
Yeah. I was wondering what the fuck was going on during the dinner scene, because he just seemed like really uncomfortable around his parents that whole time.
The same. So in the book, he actually never talks inside the house, or like at least at the dinner. Like, he just like doesn't talk at all at the dinner in the book. He's just like a complete autist, and he kind of is.
Oh yeah, he drifts into the background.
Yeah, like he kind of is like in the movie, but he does have that little. I mean, he spurgs out a bit, like, honestly.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, it's the Genus Edition, or but I I really
My son's the Genus.
I really liked his parents. I liked how they played it off, because
they were written really well.
Yeah, because
amazing casting. I think all around, but like, man, especially the parents.
Yeah, David Thewlis, man, where he's like, just the way that he talks. I mean, the chemistry between them is just so strange, and it's just like not of this world, but it works. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, it's like strange but charming at the same time.
Yeah. She goes,
yeah, for sure.
They might be telling me stock market prices. Huh, we'd be rich. Just
the like him looking up to like the corner of his eye like constantly when he like laughs, and like her fucking weird like croak. of a laugh. It's just, oh my god, they're such a weird couple, but I fucking love them.
Yeah, I love just her like. No, there was a great moment in the dinner scene where she goes, "I thought he was full of shit," and then the mom was like, "So you didn't like him anymore?" Like, even though that they're sitting right next to each other, but she's just like, "So you didn't like him anymore?" Like, afraid that she's gonna break up with him, like in the past.
I love how the illusion keeps breaking itself in the story though. There's like a bunch of like a little illusion breaks, and it makes for a really good second watch. I think I had like some notes written down or something like that of like, I especially love that shit like her face changing to the actress in the movie.
Oh yeah.
The constant character shift of like him just like kind of hitting a wall with her, and then he just like subconsciously changes her personality on a fucking whim to kind of like and there's this constant thing in the movie that I loved where like the human mind can't know more than it already knows.
Yeah.
So she's intelligent, but she can't be more intelligent than him.
Yeah.
She can only know things that he knows about. So every time she goes to go off about something, he's like, "Oh yes, that's like Wordsworth," or something like that. Or like he just knows the answer to everything she's about to say. And it's just so fucking like it literally is a person having a conversation with themselves.
Yeah.
But like trying to impress the other person in some weird way. It's the fucking I love it though.
Yeah, she's kind of like this amalgamation of this fantasy like 2D waifu that he's created.
Yeah, no, she literally is the a headcanon idolized woman that he makes up.
But he has to but the thing is that he's such a loner that he doesn't have that much experience with people, so he has to like project a lot of himself onto her, and if he's not projecting himself, he's projecting like he's projecting writers that he's read or fictional characters from films or things like that. You know, it's like, so she's sort of like this weird sort of like built out of the media and built out of himself at the same time. You know, so she's a really interesting character. And there is a moment in the first 20 minutes in that first drive to the farmhouse where she looks directly at the camera. I don't know if you noticed that.
I never picked up on that.
It's like one small shot, and the camera is moving on the opposite side of the car from where she is, and she looks across and she looks directly at the camera and stares at the camera for about 1.5 seconds. And I think it's right before she does her poem. I think that's when it happens, but yeah, and it's just sort of like it is that like fourth wall break in a sense. It's almost like the janitor is looking at the audience before reciting something or something like that. And this is a poem that the janitor really liked, apparently. So I, you know, and then he says too, Mark, he says, "It's like you wrote that just for me."
Yeah.
You know?
It's it literally now I'm just picturing like Jake as like a fucking fedora katana wielding like it's like my wife, she's so perfect. Like she she's just like just an amalgamation of all these things that he wants and sort of desires and stuff like that. But the funniest part, the saddest part is like he still can't have her.
Yeah.
He's still so self-conscious that he can't even his fantasy breaks itself apart. That he really does like hate himself and think he's like so pathetic that like he can't even get with her in a way, and like his attempts are always like like no matter how much he forces it and stuff. And like anytime, even though she kind of represents like his unconscious mind in a way. Mm-hmm. Saying all the like, and he just does everything to sort of interrupt her. Like it's very apparent. I think it like so like in the novel, it straight up says he can hear everything she's saying, but in the film, it's just sort of implied. But you get like really good hints if you're paying attention towards it, that he just keeps interrupting her every time her mind starts to stray and go towards like, oh, I'm thinking about ending things, and he'll just interrupt her or throw something at her. And I think one of the best early film, like within the first 10 minutes, she is talking about going to the parents and stuff like that and saying, it's like, well, maybe this is going to be a good chance to sort of get to know who he is more and better and stuff like that. And then she quotes William Wordsworth, and she says, you know, the child is the father of the man. And then he just says, and she's saying this all in her head, and he just outright says, oh, so you're a fan of Wordsworth?
Yeah.
Like, he's responding to a private thought that she's having in her brain, and she goes, what? It's like, oh, Wordsworth, like, you're a fan. And then she doesn't even know who the fuck William Wordsworth is or where that quote even came from. If you're paying like really close attention, you can already get the hints of what the fuck is going on and what their dynamic is and what the entire spoiler to the film is. And I love that. The dialogue is incredibly tight and sharp in this film, and it's just such a film writer's film.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Didn't they do that towards the beginning too, where like the second or third time she said, I'm thinking of ending things in her head, he was like, wait, what was that?
Yeah. Immediately, there's some strangeness there. I love that. Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
Well, I mean, it opens up with the janitor literally looking down at her and her looking back up at the janitor before she gets in the car.
Yeah.
You know,
and
like
he even
that's...
de-ages.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like... So it starts off with the dynamic between the janitor and the young woman rather than the janitor and Jake, but then she gets in the car with Jake. And it's almost like the janitor is seeing her off to the on the story. And and Kaufman leaves just a ton of clues as to who or what she is. And one of the big things is it's Tulsi Town. Tulsi Town, that's right, like Tulsi Gabbard. Not to get political. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
So, so this is a little bit of a non sequitur, not a super non sequitur, but trust me, it's only going to take about a minute to do this. I got a comment on one of my older videos the other day, and it was on my video about Parasite. And in my video about Parasite, I'm really talking about how like it's a really good. Do you know Ruanna? Roanna?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the one commenting. She goes, Mark guessed the ending like 10 minutes into the film.
Yes, but it's super rewarding like experience, man. Like it's not one of those things like, oh, I figured it out.
Yeah, like Kaufman signals it the whole time, but it doesn't take away from the path there. Like,
yeah,
because
it wasn't even like, oh, I got it. It was straight up like, I'm pretty sure this is what it is, and then every little hint was just reinforcing that theory. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. So anyway, so on my Parasite video, most of the video I'm just talking about how the screenplay's very tight. I'm talking about things like that, and then I go into talking about how the political themes of the movie definitely were sort of popular at that time. And I wanted to take a very neutral approach to it. So I said, not to get political, but these are the political themes of the film, and they were popular at the time. And the Academy always likes to sort of like hop onto whatever's popular. I mean, especially politically. So anyway, I had a very neutral stance on the politics of Parasite because, for one, it's also South Korean politics, and I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this says a lot about American politics, I'm not, it's so stupid. I have my Korean friends that are like, yeah, a lot of the Americans are misinterpreting the film. It's really about Koreans, and it's about South Korea, and it's not about the sort of things that Americans like to imagine it's about. But whatever, death of the author, whatever. Anyways, so I get a comment on it. There was that quotes me, and it says, I don't want to get political, and then after that they go, then don't do the review.
Oh fuck! Shut the fuck up.
God,
that pisses me off.
Instantly. Anyways, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole because this person had a check mark, right? This person.
Oh, really?
This person had a check mark. This person was verified by YouTube, and I was like, okay, is this some big creator? So I click on them, and they have 12 subscribers. And I'm like, what? How do you get verified at 12 subscribers? Like, how does that happen? You know, I should be like, you and I should be verified. Like,
you know,
yeah, you and I should be verified like hundreds of times over.
Not think do I got a sling to fucking get a verification around here? This is
well, here's the thing. I found out who it was. It was a journalist for the Huffington Post.
No, fuck you. That's so bad. Like a Huffington Post article writer is like fucking getting into arguments on fucking like Twitter and shit.
Yeah, yes.
Like a fucking YouTube reviewer. It's like, fuck, man.
Alright, so what's the Huffington Post article about you being a white supremacist?
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for that one now. Yeah, can you believe this man made a Parasite video and he didn't want to get political?
He didn't mention Trump even once.
Obvious right-winger.
Yeah, don't you know that every single time you make a YouTube video, you have to tell exactly why you don't like Trump in the first 5 minutes?
I fucking hate Trump.
Oh god, I gotta leave.
So here's the thing.
Oh no! The stream just went real quintessential.
Yeah, God, I love fucking ContraPoints, man.
ContraPoints didn't recognize me.
When you're so fucking obsessed with ContraPoints that you buy a sex doll as a meme, dude, it's a meme though. It's not that she won't call me back. Also Garfield.
Yeah, with the sex doll, do you think he imagines ContraPoints or Garfield?
Both. I gotta say both. I gotta double down.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin is a furry and Garfield is his persona.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin is just trying to hide the fact he's a furry.
I mean, so many people are coming out as furries. Like, I feel like I'm surrounded by them.
Yeah, it's like the new like homosexual. Like, you gotta come out, like make it like this big reveal.
I'm gonna wait. Like, even though I'm halfway there, my fucking avatar has like rat ears and shit like that. I'm gonna wait till I get like outed for something. I'd be like, no, I'm gay.
I'm a furry.
I'm a furry. Yeah, I'm a furry. Yeah, you can't make fun of me now.
I'm at my persona reveal party. I'm gonna blow up a federal building. No.
Jesus. That is in line with furry.
In Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, guys, I'm not advocating for anything. We were off on a.
Yeah, when do you guys think the first furry terrorist attack is gonna be?
No, so I was. Okay, so I actually have an idea.
Go ahead, sir.
So I've had an idea for a movie for a while, because I was like, man, when you're in a persona, you can hide your identity super well. But then I was thinking about it, and I was like, actually, no, you can't, because, actually, no, you can't, because like, people know like different people's personas. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh yeah, that guy is, you know, I don't know, Sly Fox from this world or something else, right? Like, this guy is this persona, that guy's that persona. But I was like, what if there was like a Ocean's movie, like Ocean's 14, where Brad Pitt and George Clooney robbed a casino dressed as furries to hide their identities?
Oh my god. Oh, that'd be fucking amazing.
But like, they have issues, right? Like, they can't, maybe not like Oceans, but like the town, like a Ben Affleck, the town, and it's just sort of like but they have issues because like they're trying to shoot, but their paws are too big. Like, they can't get their paws through the. They can't shoot the guns.
Oh no. He's trying to punch in the passcode, but his big fucking mitts are just like missing all the numbers.
Yes.
He's like trying to aim his gun, but he like is having trouble seeing through the eye holes.
But I was like, okay, so maybe it's not a casino, because that like, but what if it's like at a furry convention, and what if there's some like.
Yeah, they have those in Las Vegas. They could do that.
Yeah, they have furry conventions.
Wait, hold on. Didn't like some guy like release like a gas bomb in like a furry convention at one point, and they all had to evacuate? or evacuate.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. Yeah.
It was
someone
like
already beat you
mustard
to the
gas.
punch, man.
It was like mustard gas.
Yeah, somebody tried like fucking killing all the furries like legitimately. Somebody tried like like an actual fucking attack, like some nerve gas or some shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was another furry.
No, I see. The thing is I wouldn't be surprised if it was another furry actually. Fucking hell.
Yeah, he got his dog stolen.
Oh, no.
Okay, we're going off on a way tangent. We're supposed to be
Yeah,
talking
all right.
about
Back to
the
the movie.
So anyways, so going back to I'm thinking of ending things. Speaking of furries and nerve
really
gas,
am
but just the idea of it just makes me want to end things, right? But
I'm thinking of ending this convention. You know?
The sequel is literally about the furry terrorist guy. I'm thinking about it. I'm taking you with me.
Oh my god.
She's like a big slash mark.
It's like the ending of the book where it's like the slasher film, but like it's a furry that's just running around trying to kill people.
Yeah. But what if the furry like puts on like claws? Like instead of like the paws, it's actually like knives on the ends of its
like
paws.
the Freddy Krueger hand.
Yeah, it's like the Freddy
God,
Krueger
yeah.
hand. That could be like a furry horror movie. Honestly.
We need this. We need this.
Like
The first ever a furry horror film.
what would
Yeah,
be
anyone in chat a screenplay writer?
Yeah, hey no, what would be cool is if it's like kids watch Cool Cat Saves the Kids and then it's like, you know, it's like the whole Grudge, like 7 days, then Cool Cat, but with like knives on his paws, like starts stalking them. And it's Cool Cat kills the kids.
Oh my god.
And it's just like
Cool
Halloween.
Kid start the school shooting.
It's just like Halloween, but it's just Cool Cat instead of Michael Myers.
And everybody thinks he's normal because it's just a furry convention. He doesn't stand out. But this is like his pre-plan. This is how I'm gonna murder everybody.
He's
but
like
then
saber.
it just happens.
He's just
blends
like,
in.
yeah.
He sees like the kid in the closet. He just opens the door. I'm Cool Cat, and I hate all kids. Starts
Oh, fucking Christ.
speaking of Cool Cat, thinking of ending things.
Yeah, I'm thinking of ending things.
Yeah.
Okay, where did we?
Spiritual sequel to Cool Cat.
Yeah, where do we leave off here? So we're talking about the. Okay, yeah. Well, her saying "I'm thinking of ending things" could be like it does have a double meaning within the film because it is sort of like his own subconscious starting to go against him, but I think it's also his own thought of like ending his life, you know, his own thought of dying. And I think that I think Kaufman does a better job in the movie than Ian Reed does in the book because he goes and he sees how horrible his parents his parents' lives were when they were older, and he doesn't want to live through that. And I think that that's like the impetus for him wanting to die. Monsieur Chinchilla goes, "Bonjour, what's happening? What did I miss?" Oh man.
Oh man.
What didn't you miss?
The greatest screenplay ever conceived by 3 people in a podcast ever.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of screenplay ideas, I had an idea for a movie where all of the actors are just canceled celebrities. So you get like fucking Louis C.K., Kevin Spacey, just everyone that like all of Hollywood is abandoned already. Get Charlie Sheen in there.
Oh, you know what would be great is if it was an AIDS drama like Philadelphia, but with Charlie Sheen and and then it's all the canceled celebrities coming to help him out.
Yeah, the Tiger Split transfer went wrong.
Oh fucking hell! It's called the Comeback Kids. One of them, like some of them are just looking really nervous. They're like, oh, I don't know if we should call it that. I'm like, Just half of them were like, yeah.
Oh my god.
Nervous sweating.
Oh god. All right.
We gotta talk.
Speaking of Kevin Spacey, I'm thinking of ending
I'm
things.
thinking of ending things.
He even has the same internal dialogue as like Frank.
Yeah.
Looks right into the camera.
But okay, so I liked how it shows the movie. Okay, so the funny, like with the movie, the Zemeckis thing, Charlie Kaufman actually said that saying directed by Robert Zemeckis was completely random. That
Oh yeah?
yeah, he was like, well, we shot it, and I was gonna like just. They had other directors that they were gonna put there, but they didn't get the permission from or something like that. And then he just was like, oh, well, there's some, like, he basically came across Zemeckis' name, and he had like never, I guess, yeah, I don't think he's ever met Zemeckis, but like I guess one of the producers called him, and Zemeckis was like, yeah, sure, put my name in there. And
wow.
so, and he was like, it's funny, he says, but I don't know if it's actually like a Zemeckis movie, like I can't tell you that, but like he goes, but people thought it was funny, so I guess it worked. Yeah, so that was actually completely.
It actually,
it does work. I mean,
Yeah,
Zemeckis makes those like sort of cheesy films like that. So
yeah, he certainly has. I mean, like it's just fucking funny. Like I actually laughed out loud. I'm like, holy shit, the shade. But I guess it really wasn't like that in reality. But
no,
like, he just need a name.
Yeah, it does kind of come across like that though. Another funny thing was like the references to A Beautiful Mind. Because the ending speech is from A Beautiful Mind, but also in his room, he has a DVD of A Beautiful Mind there. And actually, if you go into that room, if you really look at like all the books and the DVDs and stuff that he has in there, and the posters on the wall, it's all the stuff that comes up in the film. So you see Pauline Kael, the New Yorker critic who did The Woman Under the Influence. You see David Foster Wallace, you see A Beautiful Mind, you see A Woman Under the Influence, you see all this stuff. Yeah. So all that stuff
even
is
the thing which kind of makes up for the like the environment and the being locked in somewhere.
Yeah.
In the snow.
Yeah, and you know, I thought it was interesting that it has like this constant, just sort of like unending snow. You know, it's just like, and it just gets more and more. Like in the drive back home, it's like it gets harder and harder to really tell what you're actually looking at. Like the frost is also kind of moving in on the windows. The snow is getting heavier and it's getting darker, and you're just sort of like, man, it's becoming more and more oppressive as the film goes along. And
atmospherically, it almost was like Silent Hill-esque in a way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, no, you talk, Mark.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, yeah, no, it kind of operates under the sort of same logic. Actually, there are, now that I think about it, there actually are a decent amount of like crossovers or parallels between Silent Hill and this in a way, with it being sort of like the unconscious mind come to a life, and it's like the thoughts of a dying man, which is like Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Which is a good huge inspiration for Silent Hill, and yeah, it's kind of like that. I'd love if somebody could ask Charlie Kaufman if like he knows of Silent Hill and if he's ever watched it, and if like maybe it inspired him.
If I'm gonna do Charlie Kaufman, he'd be talking like this, you know, be a, well, you know, maybe I played Silent Hill back in the day, but you know, I don't know if you've seen him talk. He's actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could ask his brother, Donald Kaufman.
He's so neurotic. Charlie Kaufman is so neurotic. Yeah. It's kind of funny watching him talk, like his interviews, because it is obvious he made this movie because he obviously has a super low self-esteem. I mean, I kind of hate saying it, but he acts like it, you know?
Yeah, one of the themes that you can really pick up from a lot of his films is sort of like an unrequited love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, you gotta wonder, like, how much of that is affecting his real life.
Yeah, because you have that, well, like in Anomalisa, right? Like, a big thing is, like, David Thewlis's character is everyone, like, has the same voice actor, but then he meets Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, and I'm going to spoil Anomalisa here, and he falls in love with her because she has a different voice, right? Because he just kind of sees everyone as the same, and it's like this really depressing way to look at the world. But then the ending to Anomalisa, after he has this affair with Jennifer Jason Leigh, is Charlie's doing a Zoom question and answer soon. You can ask him. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. But how it ends is that the voice actor who voices all of the other characters then starts voicing Jennifer Jason Leigh's character. So she becomes just like everybody else, and he becomes disillusioned with her, and that's how it ends. And I think that Kaufman, to make a movie like that, and to write something like Eternal Sunshine, and being John Malkovich, and adaptation is all about him, and it's all about how his own, it's all about his own insecurities. I think that he does have a really bad love life. And I think that also, you can add, I'm thinking of ending things to that canon as well. Of the, it's almost like he regrets having his insecurities, but he still can't get rid of them.
Yeah, and it's, God, he's like the most fucking, like, I love him, but he's like the most depressed human being I've ever come across in a way. It's great. I really do feel like he has his like finger on the pulse when it comes to human relationships and these interactions that we have, and it's just like it's even if you haven't experienced what these characters have in the films, you do still get a general sense of like, I think it does play to like most people, but I think his films really especially speak to those people too. Like you can which I think is like fucking weird that there's so many negative reviews or like that, and like even from just because the quote unquote horror of this movie isn't like an actual killer or monster or creature, it's kind of like situational horror. Like this woman is trapped, like things are fucking weird, sure, and that gets like weird and like awkward and scary and stuff, but like the horror is like being trapped at meeting the parents and not being able to escape this like guy that you don't even like all that much, and you're situationally trapped. She even says in the film outright, it's like, one yes just becomes another yes, and then it's a series of yeses, and you just get stuck and you're fucked and you fuck yourself. And it's like, yeah, that's an existential dread. Like that's the horror of the fucking movie.
Yeah,
it's like even if the ending of the movie didn't turn out that they had the same consciousness, they were the same person, you could see this as, in fact, it was my in case I wasn't right while watching the movie and I was still piecing everything together the first time, my backup plan B explanation was maybe this is all kind of metaphorical, and that they go over for one dinner to meet the parents, but actually this is a series of dinners that we're witnessing as if they're just one night, but this is like they keep visiting and visiting and visiting, and she's stuck and she's complacent in this relationship, and the entire time from the get-go she just is like ready to commit to leaving, but she never does, and then she's trapped in this relationship till they're both old and gray. And that's horrible. That's a fucking nightmare. Like nobody ever wants to be caught stuck in a situation they just desperately want to be out of. And still there is an element of that to the film, even though that's not like the actual explanation. There's like you get this sense of like just being utterly trapped in something. And and then it becomes at the end, it's the reason why Jake or the janitor, or even to an extension using quote fingers, but Lucy or whatever her name actually is, she's uncredited or untitled or unnamed woman in on IMDb.
Person.
Person.
Person. Persyn.
Oh, really? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wait,
or
what?
Womixen. WOMXN.
Oh no! No! I thought you were being serious. That's like they all collectively kind of decide. Elizabeth, the one person, is like, that's it. There really is nothing to live for, and they just fucking off themselves.
Yeah. Hey,
Why keep trying?
Sorry if I was being a little bit like. So something weird was happening while you were talking. Some person.
Oh.
So I'm at the clinic where I work, and some person just like drove their car into our front lawn and started shouting at somebody on the sidewalk.
What?
Yeah, and
You need to stop and deal with that.
No, they left, but it was just bizarre. It was just
It was one of the people that didn't like him thinking of ending things.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. But so while you were talking, because there were people out there that were getting angry and yelling at each other, I reached for my self-defense. I'm not going to say it on YouTube, but I currently am holding it just in case anything happens, because some of them walked back behind my clinic, and I'm going to carry on like normal. But if something happens, just know that there's some weird shit going on around me right now. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
Finally, some good content.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, I got some. I mean, I do have some haters, so maybe they're wonders.
Yeah, why do we have 9 dislikes?
We have 9 dislikes.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'd hate to think that that's me, and that because I did retweet this, and I bet you it was like a bunch of like fucking maybe they're trying to make it perfectly equal, like 10 to 10 or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe it's Movie Bob fans.
I mean, I have like maybe 3 haters, like 3 like dedicated haters that come on, and they always like immediately dislike my stuff like once I upload, or like once I say like, oh, I'm gonna be streaming once I'm gonna be, like I post that I'm streaming or something like that, like I'll have like a couple of dislikes immediately come in. I think I know who some of them are, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think I know their identities. But it's whatever. I mean, dislikes don't do anything on YouTube. Like, it's like, oh wow, you're gonna dislike a live stream. It literally does nothing.
So does Movie Bob have like stands or something?
I think so, which is really fucking weird. And you know what? Actually, okay, here's the best fucking part. Movie Bob was coming after me with the whole like Resident Evil 3 remake shit, and all it took, I didn't do any of this, but somebody who, and it's not even one of my fans, somebody who's a fan of Movie Bob or like knows of Movie Bob was responding to the people responding to me, and they said something about like eugenics, and then somebody was like, oh yeah, this is fucking Movie Bob's like stance on eugenics, and like somebody who's like a fan of Movie Bob was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's nuts. like people are turning on him in his own fucking like replies. It's like if you just like the wildest Movie Bob takes, they're like really really bad. He said that the Covenant should have won in Halo. Like humanity doesn't deserve to live.
Yeah,
humans are the real virus.
I
always hate that, like the humans are the real virus stuff. I see so much of that on Instagram. Like people like, it's all these like white girls are like posting these stories about that. But I mean, I see some of these takes on Twitter too. Like I shared one tweet that the tweets are protected, so I had to take a screenshot of it of a person. Like there was a few tweets about how humans are a virus, but then there was another tweet about how the whole cutie scandal is like allowing him to know who all the QAnon people are, and I'm just like, what?
Oh God.
What? Like, what point does that? How does that make any sense? But whatever. Let's get back to the movie. Movie blob aside, let's get back to the movie. He's literally, I mean, I don't know how he has fans. Like, I always thought he was a lolcow. Like, honestly, I was like, oh yeah, that guy's, he always has the worst takes and everyone just laughs at him. Like, nobody can take him seriously, right? But I guess they do. So, hey, Movie Bob fans, if you're here.
I mean, Darkside Phil has an ironic fan, so I guess anyone can get him.
Yeah, true. I mean, if you're here, you're contributing to my success, so that's great. So thanks. I welcome you.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, disliking the video only makes it show up more in the algorithm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it does because YouTube's like, wow, this is getting a lot of engagement. People are really like affected by this. Because think about like how much you have to be affected by something to like or dislike. Like I almost never like or dislike stuff, and I almost never comment. Like I just watch the videos and then I click off. Like so to like something or to dislike something, that's really I mean that's showing YouTube that you're really engaged with it. So thank you.
That's some extra level shit. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Now we got fans.
Yeah. So anyway, so let's get back to the film. I want to talk about the collar.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the collar because
Oh.
in the book it makes it very clear that the collar is the janitor. It in the book it's like there's no room for interpretation really in the book. But there's an interesting thing that they do in the book that's not in the film that I wanted to bring up, and that is that the person who's calling her, she has seen this person before, but we don't know who it is. She just says it's a man that watches her ever since she was a little child. It's a man who watched her through the bedroom window. It's a man who like watches her wherever she goes, and she's like, he was never threatening. He was never he was never anything like that, right? Like he never attacked her. He was always just like this passive observer, that never really interacted with her, but had like watched her, and so she figures that this person is the caller, and that's what that character is called in the book. It's the caller. He calls with the same name as her, but we never know what her name is. And it's played up a lot more in the book than it is in the movie. In the movie, they have it as like a background thing, and until she does listen. Actually, in the book, I think she listens to the voicemails. Like she had listened to several of the voicemails, so we kind of know even early on in the book what he's saying, and it's a lot of the same stuff. Like there's one question and only one question to answer. But I wanted to put it up to you two. What do you think that question is? And what is it that's being answered? Because he never, in the book, you still don't quite know. I mean, that's left ambiguous. And in the movie, it's also left very ambiguous.
Yeah, in the movie, it almost seems like they barely even touched on it. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, yep, there is his collar. All right, moving on.
Yeah. I mean, they have it in there, and you see that the caller called her several times. And there are many times when she's like, no, it's just my friend, they'll be fine. And they're like, no, listen. And then you hear it. I think that Charlie Kaufman was like, he just didn't want to have you listen to the same line over and over again. And he probably figured that hearing it once was enough for the film. But, and it is kind of around that time too. Like you think about it, like I was thinking like, what's the timing of that? Because it's not long after that she starts to really explore the house. Like she starts to really explore the house. Like after that, like it's after that scene where the parents start to age. You know what I mean? And she starts to venture into places that Jake didn't bring her to. She starts to go to his childhood. She starts to go to the basement and see the real version of him. She sees his parents and as they're dying, and it's just sort of like it's at that point that the veil is lifted in a way. It's almost like it's almost like it serves as like a turning point for the film to go from this awkward family dinner to this like deep dive into his life, And so that's why I was like, well, maybe the question is whether or not to go on living or something. You know what I mean? That's why I was thinking, what's the question? Was his life fulfilling?
I think that maybe probably is. I mean, the entire time, I mean, like, I think that his life kind of hinges on whether or not this relationship is successful, because technically it's a relationship with himself. He's quote unquote breaking up with himself. He's killing himself. if he can't even live with himself anymore, and like in a weird way, if this relationship doesn't work, then like his will to live fails too. And I think that's like some half of his mind make like I feel like the Jake that we see, the young Jake, is him is like self-preservation. It's like trying to rationalize and keep chugging and keeping the status quo. And then like the like again, quote, Lucy, the woman, is sort of like what I think probably, and I might be wrong about this, maybe the unconscious mind. There is some mention of Freud too. I'm wondering if like maybe that's he talks extensively about that.
Yeah, and she calls it like but they don't like Freud. Don't they like dismiss Freud?
Yeah, but that does. But even people who dismiss Freud also maybe subscribe to Jungian. So I mean, yeah. So and that he still deals with the unconscious mind, especially like I think Jung was thought that like dreams and the unconscious mind formed reality in a way. So there could be a connection there.
Well, but I just wanted to talk about like just the house is like this structure, right? So you have this house and it's surrounded by snow, which is like, I mean, winter is death, you know, like when you're thinking of like literary works or whatever, and it's something is winter, that's when everything is dead, you know. And for me, that's what the whole like snow everywhere, it was just like this whole sort of encompassing feeling of death. And surrounding the house are the stables, and the first thing that you see is almost like, I mean, is like the entrance to the stables are these like 3 dead lambs that are frozen in place, that they look, they're lifeless, they're dead, but they're there until springtime. They're there until spring or summer when they're gonna thaw and they're gonna burn the bodies. But it's just sort of like these statues of young life too. There were lambs, you know, statues of young life that died. And maybe, you know, maybe these were actual lambs that died, but maybe also it's like it's like the death of youth, you know. And that's like the first thing that you see on the farm. And then the next thing that you see is the spot where the pigs died, and the pigs were eaten alive by maggots. And as I said in my video, that he's being eaten alive by his own inner demons. I mean, not literally eaten alive, but I mean, something is really eating at him from the inside that's causing this whole film to even happen.
Well, I think it's the thought. Like,
it is the thought. Yeah, and it's once the thought enters your mind, you can't get rid of it. You know what I mean? And it's just like once the maggots got inside the pigs, you couldn't get rid of it. You can only mercy kill the pigs, essentially.
And, yeah.
You know,
one thing I kind of noticed towards the end with like the whole musical scene is how all of the people in the audience kind of seem like artificially aged.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is if there's like some sort of theme with him like being afraid of getting older.
Yeah. No, I mean that is a big theme, that he doesn't like the fact that Daddy Denied says, an interesting detail is how the girl is always on the right side of Jake, like how Jung says the right side of the brain is the feminine, unconscious side. Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't think about that. Thank you for that. But anyway, so getting back to the house.
Kiss.
And getting back to the house, like, so he brings her into the foyer, and there is this like tension where he's like, oh, my parents are here, they're coming down, but they don't come down. Like, there's this like couple minutes where he's standing there waiting to see his parents descend from the upstairs, and I feel like, you know, and I've been thinking of this scene, like, why is it that the parents take so long to actually come down and greet him? And I feel like there might be like this anticipation of him not wanting to see them, or him trying to recall them. You know what I mean? Like, he's trying to bring them up, but it's taking him a while to really remember them because they've been dead for so long.
They do say like it's like that they're getting ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're getting ready, because all we saw earlier was like a silhouette, but it's easy to remember a silhouette, but to actually like really recall all the details, about them, and the fact too that even when she looks down at the toe of the mom in the dinner, like her like nails are not on her feet, like there's already this kind of rot that's set in, and the dad has like an injury, like he has a band-aid over his head. It's almost just like they're in this state of decay, and really from the get-go. So like with the house, I think that it was very symbolic. I mean, it's very metaphorical how the real truth about, like, when she explores the house, she goes into his bedroom, and that's like his childhood, but that's also where she finds out a bit more about herself. But the real sort of, I think, revelation comes down in the basement, like in the literal like subconscious. If the house is his like conscious memories, like memories of his parents aging, memories of his childhood, memories of all of these things, memories of his dog. And you notice too when he's like he says a dog, and then the dog comes up, and like the dog just kind of appears out of nowhere throughout the film. Like, it's just because it was his dog at some point in his life, and he's just kind of like, oh, when he thinks about the dog comes in. And that's pretty much how it operates. But the subconscious, like the basement he doesn't want her going down there, because that's where she finds his true self. That's where, she goes underneath. She goes into the subconscious and really finds out the truth about him, which is that he's a janitor working at that high school, and that he is a failed painter. A lot of great men, though, were failed painters. Like,
what do you mean failed?
But jokes aside, no. But she disavow the joke. No. But I mean, like, what I'm saying is that he's a failed painter. Like, he was trying to be like Blakelock, right? But you look at his paintings, and they're nowhere near as good. They're like, it's obviously put tons and tons of work, right? Because that's what his mom was saying, that he like worked harder than everybody, and he made so many of these paintings, but none of them were like near as good as the paintings of Blakelock, and it's just sort of like it's his own sort of like low self-esteem, his own self-hatred that she discovers in that cellar in the basement. Is that self-hatred, is the fact that he failed at painting, is the fact that he's working as a janitor. And that's what he's been trying to hide from her, because in the memories, he's taking care of his mom. He was a good boy. He was, he was well read. He was, like all these kind of, sometimes the memories aren't that great, but they paint him in a very good light. And really the one memory that doesn't paint him, the one part of the house where he's not painted in a good light, is in the basement. And that's why he doesn't want her going in. That's like him having to come to terms with the fact that he's a failure.
Yeah.
So, end rant.
That's a really good point. Actually, I was about to say something, but I actually think that Daddy Denied probably said what I was going to say way better than how I was saying it. We were talking about Jung earlier, but you said, and how I thought she represented his unconscious mind in a way. Daddy Denied said, an interesting detail is how the girl is always on the right side of Jake, like how Jung says the right side of the brain is the feminine unconscious side. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was intentional, to be honest. And I don't think that's digging too deep, maybe, that was a conscious choice made by Charlie Kaufman in some way.
Yeah.
Because it plays perfectly. It almost doesn't even matter if it is true or not, because it just plays so perfectly into the themes and what's going on in the movie anyways, that it may as well. But that'd be a great detail if that was some little extra like fucking 4D chess shit that he added in.
4D chess. Yeah, Scott Adams.
The big brain
Scott
galaxy
Adams.
brain.
Yeah, I could see Scott Adams on his Periscope like live streams breaking down. I'm thinking of ending things.
There was a really good interview with him actually that I watched, and he did clarify a few things. Like he said, somebody asked him about the review from the New York Times. I forgot
the Pauline
critic.
Kael. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said like, "Did you agree with that?" And he looked at the interviewer so bewildered. He said, "No, absolutely not." he was like so offended. It's like, no, I was like literally just putting her on blast in my movie.
Yeah, I mean, no, but like if you watch the film, it's like it's obvious that he is putting this like kind of film critic on blast, like this film critic that's so stuck up their ass that their whole criticism is about making themselves sound smart and not actually saying anything or having any kind of good things to add to the discussion.
It's kind of like the reviewer from Birdman.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a good example. Shit. I guess, man, I feel like it was anybody else almost. Apart from that's a good example, Birdman. But like, when have you ever watched a movie where the movie straight up stops itself and then makes fun of movie critics preemptively, like a preemptive strike to like avoid criticism, and it like wasn't an absolute fucking mess and it didn't come off as like really shitty and pretentious or like that? Like, this is one of those few times where it does make sense and it plays into the story and stuff, and then he ended up just being right in the end with like a lot of the reviews that I've read, or at least 50% right if you go by Rotten Tomatoes, where it's just like some people fucking hated this and it really is, they just didn't get it and then were dismissive, and some just like again, people throwing the word pretentious at this film without even really understanding the word pretentious because they know that's a word that's used. Yeah. So
that's
the word pretentious has pretty much become pretentious at this point.
Yeah, it is. It's a word that's like, I don't like this thing, and it's smart.
It's actually dumb.
But
here are things.
Yeah. It's like,
just say you think it's dumb.
Yeah, it's just like actually, I don't know. Like when there are things that are pretentious, but I just hate using that term even on things that are pretentious, because it's just like it's one of those words that's just lost all of its meaning, like satire at this point. When people are like,
yeah, back in 2016, where that basically just meant wherever the fuck you wanted it to mean.
People are like, oh, that's satire. I'm like, do you know what satire is? Like, that's not satire. Like, I haven't seen a whole lot of satire on YouTube. I mean, $1 Million Extreme, that's satire, but commentary channels, yeah. I'm sorry, that's not satire. That's like, so sorry, that's just not satire at all. Like,
they might throw out some sarcasm here or there, but like, they're playing it pretty fucking straight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, satire is a very specific thing. It's a very specific kind of comedy too. Like, South Park is satire. Like, that is satire.
Yeah.
And A Clockwork Orange is satire. Spree is satire. Like,
American Psycho
is satire. It's comedy that is like, that's really sort of, it's usually comedy that's made to be edgy or controversial, that's made to make you uncomfortable in parts, that is reflective of society, that is saying a lot about the culture. You know what I mean? That has a lot to say. I mean, that's what satire really is. Like, when people, there's no such thing as like a G-rated satire, honestly, like, because satire really at its core has to make you uncomfortable, at least in some parts. You know, like Voltaire, and Voltaire was a satirist, and he had some very uncomfortable events happening in his works. So, but yeah. Anyways, pretentious, satire, these are words that have lost all meaning. I mean, there's a lot of words that have lost all meaning in the last few years, if we're going to be honest. But yeah, like pretentious, people throwing that word at this. Speaking of MDE, Jake reminded me a lot of Nick Rochefort in the wife tripping sketch at times in this similar facial expression.
Oh my god, yeah. But you tripped my wife.
Dude, you tripped my
You're
wife.
100% right on that.
You owe me $800. That is the best ending to a skit I've ever fucking seen. I had a friend of mine who like fucking vehemently fucking hated that, like, all that entire show, like World Peace. He's like, I watched it, it was bullshit, it was a piece of shit. I'm like, it's like okay, but like, you know, I feel like it's just not your like brand of comedy or something like that. They're like, no, it's objectively bad. It's like,
No, that's not. It's hilarious.
It's fucking really good, at least in my opinion.
You tripped my wife, bro. Yeah, no, Jake is kind of like that guy.
He's like, he calls her his field hockey wife or something. And she's picking glass out of her face. Yeah. What's going on, bud? What's going on, big guy?
Oh my god! Thank you for that, Human Kebab. That was a great contribution. But yeah, like somebody had mentioned the collar. We had talked about the collar earlier. Yeah, that it's. I think there is this sort of tension in the film where he wants this fantasy to keep on going, but he also wants to end it. Like there is this tension. It's an internal struggle within himself, and that is the question. Is someone just commented on my video and says, "Good movie, but this movie looks gay. Not gonna lie."
Oh my god.
I guess they're talking about I'm thinking of ending things. Okay. All right. Thanks for the compliment.
Listen, leave my man Charlie Kaufman alone.
yeah. Stop hating on Charlie Kaufman, man.
My boy needs a win.
What did he ever do to you? He's like the fucking mole man in The Simpsons. He's just always getting the rough end of the stick.
Yeah. I know, for real. He's like if Mole Man was given like a movie camera, just like make films about your life. I'm gonna end myself.
Boo, pretentious, didn't get it.
Pigs?
He like makes this like he makes this movie like just like his heart just pours it out. Everyone's like, this is pretentious. And then like this this movie looks gay, and he's just like, thank you for watching.
2 out of 10. You for just showing up, guys.
That reminds me, sorry to go off on a tangent, but I was like hanging out with one of my friends one time, and we were listening to Real Friends by Kanye, and just at one point, my friend just goes, "Wait, is this guy gay or something?" And I'm just thinking, like, what the fuck? Like, how did that fucking thought come to your head? What do you mean? Like, how does those connect in your brain?
Oh my god. Yeah, man, people. But yeah, going back to, speaking of Kanye West, I'm thinking of ending things. There is that internal struggle, and I feel like her discovery of his true self is his coming to terms with his own life, like in a sense. And that's why, like, it doesn't feel cheap that it's like, oh, she's fantasy, it's a dream, or whatever, like, whatever you might want to say. Like, and the fact that there's that scene, it's a great, and they did it in this great way where she's in the hallway and she's looking at the janitor, and the janitor's looking at him, and he's talking to her, and that's when she like says like he was a creeper, blah blah blah, and she kind of takes on this whole different affect, but then she kind of reverts back to like this sweet girl, and then he's like, she goes, "You haven't seen him, have you?" And he says something like, "No, but I see you." And and then they hug, and it's like him sort of just embracing himself, and you know what I mean? Like he's embracing himself. He realizes who he is.
The mask slipped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And him looking at her is himself looking at himself. Like that's the thing.
It's a self-realization moment. Yeah. And his eyes are just watery. He's fucking like on the verge of like full bored crying, and I think it's because he's realizing like he's kind of made his decision right there and then. What's going to happen next?
Yeah. Like that's the climax. Everything else is just the denouement to that moment. Yeah. Or to say it like Donald Kaufman in Adaptation is the denouement.
The denouement. Nice.
It's and the denouement, and then Charlie Kaufman in Adaptation's like, that's not how you say it. I think that's how he says it in that movie, but yeah, it is that is like everything leads up to that point where it's just like she's now, but the thing is she's seeing Jake for who he really is, but she doesn't even know that it's him, but it doesn't matter because he knows that it's him, and he's able to look this fantasy in the eyes. He's able to look at her straight on like she's actually there, and it's just like he is confronting his own unconscious self in a sense. Like but he's also, this is where it's kind of a brain bender here, because she's also him. So he's looking at his like projection, his unconscious self, but that unconscious self is also looking at the conscious self in a sense. And when they hug, it's like it's the coming together. I mean, it is self-actualization, and I think that's Ruana says unnamed woman is the embodiment of everything Jake likes most about himself and everything he wants to be. Yeah, she's successful, she's a great painter. Yeah, because she's like the painter that he aspires to be. She's the poet that he aspires to be. But it's like it's like he can never have it. No matter how hard he worked, he can never get to that point. He can never be her. He can never have her. I mean, and that was the whole thing, like where he kills her then in the dance. Well, and he doesn't kill her. He kills his younger self. He tries to have her, and then his younger self fights him, and he kills his younger self. But that causes her to leave him forever, and you just think, like you think about that, and it's like he killed off himself at his most hopeful, and it was at that point that the potential then left. That potential was gone.
Another
go ahead. No, you go.
Oh yeah, another small detail I really like is remember when she's in the basement and she's going through the washing machine, she sees all the gender uniforms in it.
Yeah.
I love how during that, like, you can see the lights kind of go out for a sec. Like, to me, that almost kind of symbolizes him, like, sort of realizing, like, oh, I have to come back to reality now. Like, oh no, my fantasy is falling apart.
Yeah, and it's kind of it goes a little bit horror-y. It's like it goes a little bit horror-y in there. It's an interesting way that it sort of plays it out, because it is played out like it's very important, but you don't, like, you understand when it's happening, but I think I think it's a lot more understood when you really think about it afterwards. I think that's also a reason why people think it's pretentious, because when you're watching the film, you might not be able to like piece everything together. It's a film that you kind of have to think about after, and you're like, because after the end of the movie, you then, I mean, just like you said, Mark, he gives you all the puzzle pieces to put everything together to make sense of it, but he never like tells you necessarily what the answer is. You have to think metaphorically about how what happens in the film to, but you're given more than enough info to at least get a very basic understanding of it. Like, I didn't think that any of it was too esoteric. Like that was something that kind of threw me off, is that people really just had no idea what was going on in the film. And I'm just like, I didn't feel like it was that esoteric. Like, I felt like, it's kind of surreal, it's dreamlike, but it does sort of, it does guide you along pretty well. It's not like you're watching David Lynch's Inland Empire.
Yeah. It's. I think this. Like, I know it's a lot to ask of people to rewatch something, and I'm not gonna fucking yell at people and tell them it's like, well, you watched it wrong. But I mean, like, I do feel that way.
Yeah.
But I think what would really benefit the people that had a really negative sort of reaction the first time watching it is go watch an analysis or an explanation video even, and I fucking usually hate these, but like you would benefit from watching something that literally kind of tells you what it was about, and then go back to it, and there's still something there for you.
Yeah.
Like rewatching this with new context makes it a completely new film. There's a fucking brilliant little moment. I had to write this down. There's a brilliant moment right at the beginning of the film, in the beginning of the car ride, where it's just a visual thing, but it's like, fuck, does that add so much context? If now that you know the context that Jake can hear all of the thoughts in an unnamed woman's head, there's a moment where he asks her, it's like, hey, should I turn the music up? But his voice is like deafened.
Yeah.
And she looks at him and she just focuses on like a dried piece of drool.
Yeah.
Like a little, like on the corner of his mouth.
And then he licks it up.
Yeah, and she just stares at it and she goes, what, sorry? Like she was obviously very distracted and probably disgusted by it. And then he wipes it away nervously and really like self-consciously. And then he just leaves his hand there and he talks into his fist to cover up the little like dried drool patch. It's like, oh my god, that's so fucking good. It's like, like I can only imagine how many times he thoroughly went through this idea and thought, how much can I don't even know if that's in the the original book. But like that's such a great thing to bring up to reinforce this idea of like what's going on and all this contextual shit that you get the second time watching it. It's really rewarding. Like it's a really rewarding second watch through.
Yeah,
and
I don't blame
agree. Anybody.
I would agree. Like I noticed a whole lot more like smaller things on my second watch through that I was like, that's really interesting. It's not necessarily that like after my second watch through I had a completely different idea what the movie was. It was more like I noticed more things that really solidified my analysis of the film. You know, it's just like, wow, like there was a lot more that, you know, because on the first watch of the movie, you're sort of letting it wash over you. You know, you're not really like, because when you're watching it a second time, you already know everything that's going to happen, so you can notice the finer details a bit more, and you'll notice things that you might have missed and the first time that you watched it. So yeah, I mean, a second watch of it definitely helps, and you know, and I wouldn't necessarily even say like, obviously I'm going to say, yeah, watch my video, but like what I like, here's my approach to film analysis, especially of this nature, and I always try to put this into like at the end of my video, or most of my videos where I'm doing an analysis, like my Lighthouse video or stuff like that, where I'm just sort of trying to make sense of a film, is the way that like Mark and I see the film. I think that is probably the correct way to see it. But look, if you see it a different way and you can back it up with what happens in the film, then that's equally as valid. You know what I mean? And so like, I'm not one to say like, okay, here is the one incorrect way to look at this movie. But what I do try to do in my videos, and what I did try to do in this video that I released earlier today, is more like sort of hit the big points, get you thinking about the movie as a whole. You know, like, so if you were struggling with trying to make sense of it, my video isn't going to go through every scene and be like, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. And it's kind of like, I go, okay, here's his character, and this is the stuff his character is going through, and you might not understand these references, but I do, and this is what those references point to. You might not understand this, but I do, and this is what this points to, but I'm not going to say this is the only way you can see this film, this is the only way you can read this film. It's more like I'm just trying to like get people thinking, like, and just have some like, just have some markers there to guide them along the way of coming to their own conclusions about the movie, you know, because I'm sure that like, you know, with the whole silent Hill sort of theme, there could be other interpretations of it. I mean, like you and I see it in a very similar sort of way, but I would love to see somebody with completely different viewpoint about the movie, a completely different interpretation of it. I would love to see it. I would love to see them, back it up with what happens in the movie. Like, that makes, because for me, like, film analysis about movies like this, I mean, that makes it very interesting, because it's almost like you get entertained for the 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes or so that you watch it. But then it's like these conversations are so fun afterwards. It's just like the entertainment that like keeps on giving. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just agreeing, but like your mic cut out, so I thought that you were pausing for me to say something. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I thought that you were gonna say something. Oh, TJ says, see, the problem with me having a positive interpretation at the end is believing Kaufman put anything positive in his scripts.
Just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Always the dour ending.
Yeah, he does have this end where you hear the truck go like, brrr. So there is like, it is possible that he lived. He makes it ambiguous. Like, the ending to me, it kind of reminded me of, if I'm going to go normie mode here, it reminded me of the ending to Inception, where that the top is spinning, and you kind of see it like go like, but you're not quite sure, and then it cuts, and it's like, is he in the dream world or is he not? And it's similar here, where it's like, is he dead or is he not? But I think that in both Inception and in I'm Thinking of Ending Things, that doesn't really matter, because the climax is before that self-actualization, and that sort of like, he came to terms with his whole life, and he came to terms with himself, and that's really what mattered in the film. Whether or not he lives or dies.
If he lives at the end of the film, I mean, for how long? One more day? One more week? One more month? Like, he's at such a state. Like, I mean, maybe like, I don't know. Maybe this is my interpretation. This is like how I feel about it, and I could be wrong. The opposite of this could be true, but like, is he cured of his thoughts? Is he cured of thinking that his life is a waste, and that it's just worth it to end everything? Like, even if he lives, I mean, like, for how long? Especially if we're talking about like, maybe like, I'd like to think that he suffers from some sort of depression. I don't like to just outright say that it's just like a specific mental illness, even though the film actually probably heavily implies that it is some form of mental illness.
Yeah, it heavily implies that it's schizophrenia without actually saying schizophrenia. I think that they bring up schizophrenia when talking about a woman under the influence, like
In a Beautiful Mind.
And the fact that it's like A Beautiful Mind is about a schizophrenic, and so is Woman Under the Influence, and his mother's tinnitus. She first says it's like a humming, but then she says it's the whispers, and she hears voices, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And she acts not like she has tinnitus, but like she has something a lot more severe. And then there's the whole conversation about where it's like misogynistic claptrap about the mental illnesses passing on from the mother to the child. But it also would make sense because schizophrenia is a disease. It's a mental illness. I mean, it is like an illness. It's not, but it is a disease that usually appears later. So a lot of people, they won't exhibit signs of schizophrenia when they're kids, but they'll exhibit it when they're like in their 20s.
Towards the end where he was starting to see like the pig and stuff, I was definitely thinking like, okay, yeah, he's probably a schizophrenia.
Yeah. And so, like, and it's in his 20s, and that could be the reason why he was like a PhD guy, why he was in college, he might have studied all these things, and then all of a sudden it's just something happened where he just kind of had to drop out of everything. And in the book, it's also it's a little bit implied, not as much as in the movie though, because there's a discussion between the parents of why he suddenly dropped out of working in the lab that he worked at. and that it was just like he had this mental break in his late 20s, early 30s, and that's when schizophrenia will often show itself, and that's when it does get bad. Monsieur Chinchilla says all the set pieces kind of remind me of liminal spaces. I don't know if that's on purpose because that's a very new concept or idea, but it gave those same vibes or feelings. Yeah, especially with the rooms becoming vacant like all of a sudden.
Yeah. The constant talk of like the weird eerie sort of nostalgia, but you can't place it.
Yeah, like all the tchotchkes and stuff, like on the like the mantle and stuff like that. And that's another funny thing about her is that her background as a kid changes. Like even within one conversation where she's like, "This reminds me of the house where I grew up," but then like a minute later she's like, "Yeah, I grew up in an apartment, so we didn't have a basement," or something like that. And like, talking about how
Yeah, doesn't she say later on, like when they're driving to the school, like, "Hey, I used to live in Aurora High School too."
Yeah. So her, I mean, everything about her changes, though. I mean, and like that's just kind of adding to it. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, where she lived changes, what she studies changes, what she's doing changes, is all that sort of thing. TJ asks, I haven't read the book, but is the book more defined about his fate? Yeah. The book it's pretty clear that he dies at the end. He skewers himself in the head with a clothes hanger.
I can't believe that, of all the ways that kill yourself, because I think that what's being implied in the movie is that he's just exposing himself, and like hypothermia is what's killing him.
Yeah,
and it could even play into like some of the delusions he's having, but if it isn't schizophrenia, which it probably is, though, it's but fuck, I didn't know that he skewers, so he fucking lobotomizes himself. That's fucked.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. You get to the end of the book and you're just sort of like, okay,
Jesus.
But talking about his death too. The fact that the last things he sees through his window, he's in that car, so he's in this space all by himself. Detail. Yeah, does he slit his throat? He does it with a clothes hanger. Maybe he slit his own throat. I remember maybe she kills herself with a clothes hanger or something like that, but he slits his own throat. It's something of that nature. It's been a few months since I've read it. But the last thing he sees before he dies are the Tulsi Town ad, and then because I feel like there's something about Tulsi Town and him getting like it being a sort of, what's the term for it, like the sweetness. It's like a comfort for him. It's just like one comfort that he can get, and it is that comfort that he sees, because that's why he wants to like stop by there when they're going to the high school. And I'm gonna walk out for just 1 second. I just want to check my car to make sure that these people who were here a little bit earlier didn't like mess with anything.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna mute myself, and you guys just talk about that. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Okay. Stay safe, Jesus. I was gonna, I guess, like, with the whole Tulsi Town thing, I think that a symptom of like depression and stuff is that things that once gave you pleasure sort of stop. There's a numbness there now, and I think like the whole line about the Tulsi Town like ice cream being way too sweet, and this one thing that he wanted so badly ends up being like spoiled in some way, is like really evident of like kind of this like hopelessness of that he can't even have a fucking ice cream without it being ruined in some fucking way. Like
Right.
like nothing that once brought him joy can anymore.
Yeah, one thing
Some
I kind of wonder is you know how he was like really reluctant to kind of go up to the building itself when they actually pulled up to there?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I almost wonder if maybe like something happened there at like some point in his childhood where he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I
I can't
wonder
let them see that I'm here."
yeah, actually, you know what? This is one of those points of the movie where I'm actually still pretty confused about this, and I have, like, a few like, maybe just 2, but, like, um, I well, okay, the 2 women there, and I'm not trying to be a dick here, but, like, there's the 2 that are considerably, more attractive,
Yeah,
uh, and
like the
they're
stereotypical like blonde
oh,
Yeah.
characters.
yeah. But they seem absolutely actually, I noticed that, I think they're kids from the high school.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you
and
notice, she's from what looks to be the 70s or the 80s. They're from different eras
yeah,
in the high school.
mhm.
Mm.
Because when he
But
sees her in the high school, it's in a
okay, hold on real quick.
when he sees her in the high school, it's in the flashback. And then she's like, I remember her
Oh,
from
that's right.
somewhere. Yeah, so Jack Kentner says,
Yeah,
in the book, the janitor kills himself after meeting the girl by slitting his throat. However, the notebooks are discovered next to his body that show all the conversations between the characters. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I said.
yeah.
That's what I said in the video as well. It's like almost like a found footage book of sorts, because it's like,
That's just
yeah. I mean, the structure of
modern day,
it's
like, fucking, HP Lovecraft.
yeah, it's kind of a cool structure that the book has. Although I prefer the movie by a large margin.
Yeah.
But yeah, the girls in the Tulsi Town are interesting.
Tulsi Town?
Yeah, the girls, because it's the 3 girls, the 2 blonde ones, and then the one with like the rash or something on
Yeah,
her
the
arms.
rashes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the scene where I have the most trouble with in terms of, like, what's going on, actually,
yeah. I've
what it
been,
means.
I've been trying to think like, is the rash significant? Does the rash signify anything, or is it just his memory of her? Like, does you know what I mean? Like, is there?
There's a lot to unpack in this one scene, and it lasts, like, 2
Yeah.
minutes.
Well, I remember one of the flashbacks. I think that was the girl that sort of looked at the janitor and was like kind of smiling at her. So like maybe that was just sort of like, hey, this was like the one girl that was nice to me, kind of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I wonder a few things too. So she says, "Don't go forward," and it's like maybe this person that cared about him wouldn't want him to kill himself. But I think about these girls.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah, and I think about these girls, and I want, because he's like, no, they won't. They won't come. They won't come if they know it's me. You know.
Yeah.
And he like
Yeah.
looks ashamed. I wonder if these were like high school girls that he was like sexually attracted to, and
Yeah, kind of
um,
infatuated with. Because
yeah,
they're infatuated with him, at least the 2 blondes. They're looking at him like he's a piece of meat.
yeah, exactly. Like there's this weird sexual tension and as well as shame that's happening at the during this scene, that I have a feeling like it's like these girls from his time as a janitor that he was infatuated with, but because they were underage, like led him to feeling a lot of shame. Not that I think he even acted on any of these. Like as far as his character goes, I don't think he acted at all, but I think that he was ashamed for having those feelings for them. And
Yeah,
because
because it.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, because of what I'm saying is like they're in Tulsi Town, which is like his haven of like something that gives him like comfort, right? With these
Yes.
girls, and how it's shown too is like this beacon of light just in this complete blackness, this complete darkness, and it's like this little bit of comfort on the, like little bit of light, but even he's ashamed of that comfort. Even he's ashamed of maybe these good feelings, but taboo like feelings that he honestly as an adult shouldn't be feeling for somebody who's high school's age. But you also have to think that he's probably someone who never was with a woman, and was always surrounded by them, and that kind of warped things. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, no, I was gonna say that I think the only evidence that nothing like he's probably had like thoughts, and he's obviously ashamed of them. But what tells me that like maybe like I don't think there was ever like so much as an attempt, and my only evidence to that is that he can't even attempt sex with the most the most like what was the word?
Ideological.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the most idle girl that he can conjure up in his fucking mind, and all the women he picks are women he's had an absolute fleeting moment with. It's very heavily. I think it's really heavily implied that he's never really even probably had a relationship.
Yeah.
And that the one girl that's a shining beacon is a woman that he talked to once at a bar, and then never again, and probably even found him sort of creepy. Who knows? The rest of them are just girls that gave him the eye. That's it.
Yeah.
Not even like, and some of the time, like half of them didn't even give them like him an affectionate eye, and it's just like he's so self-conscious he can't even allow himself to get laid in his own fucking memories or his own mind and subconscious. Like that's how bad it is for him.
Yeah.
It's actually just more pathetic than anything. That's really sad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's also like, you know, he lives by himself, and he works at the high school, and that's all he ever sees. And I'm not defending this, but I'm not defending this at all, but it would make sense for a guy who's mentally ill, who's a loner, who's surrounded by high school girls, to have attraction for them. Like it makes sense for his character. As I said, I'm not like honestly, you know, I know I'm going to be edgy here. I think the best way for a man to not be attracted to high school girls is to listen to a high school girl talk. Like, have you heard them talk?
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta be way older.
Well, I was kind of thinking too, like he, like again, the human mind can't know anything it doesn't already know. So like, I don't think that his brain is sort of capable of just conjuring up a random face even, and that's what he does. He it gets to the point where like even Lucy, or the unnamed woman's face, just randomly changes to an actress he saw in a movie. He literally just takes faces he's seen and then plants it on a body, or like an idea of a woman, and it's just like, and all he can do is just pull from what he's seen, and everything in the film is just pulled from what he's seen.
So Human Kebab says, I thought I noticed he had the same rash as the black-haired girl when his hand reached out for the ice creams.
Yes.
She was acting afraid of him. Wonder if he actually did something to her and that's a sign. Or if there was some accident. So something that happened in the book was that like the young woman was lactose intolerant, and it ended up being that he was lactose intolerant. It was like there were traits that other characters had that Jake the janitor had. You know what I mean? So I wonder if he is... I don't know if that's a sign... Like, here's the thing. I don't know if that's a sign of him doing anything to her, but it could be a sign of a sort of kinship between the two.
Yes.
Maybe, like... You know, this is something where it goes, like, you can really think about this, and, you know, you can look at this from very different perspectives. If they both have that same rash, maybe there was some chemical accident with his janitor, you know, like cleaning stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe maybe something happened to her in the chemistry lab, and he saved her, and that's why, you know. But he got some acid or something. I don't know. Like, it's not.
Might also be why the whole scientist career didn't work out.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it could be so many things, and it's left ambiguous, and I like it that way. Like, it does make you just sort of think. I mean, I think that just on an emotional level, them both having that rash, it is a sort of kinship between the two of them. And maybe all she did was give him the eye, like what we saw in the flashback. But because of that, he's again projecting himself onto her, like how he projects himself onto the young woman. And so it's another part of his mind that's saying, don't go forward. You can stay here. You can stay in the comfort. It's like him telling himself, and we know it's him by the rash. Maybe that's a way that you could look at it. Is that it's a signifier. Like, it's not a signifier of anything that necessarily happened, but it's a signifier that it's another one of his projections of himself onto another woman. You could look at it from so many different, like, I like that about this. Like, I like movies like that,
Yeah. It's it's like, it comes at a really good time in the movie when that happens, because it kind of, like, even if nothing, say, like, overtly creepy has happened behind the scenes with him and these, like, Tulsi Town women, is that it implies enough that it starts to make you feel really skittish about Jake as a character. And then when they keep driving and he goes to the high school and stuff, it's just like, it's already ramping up that sort of fear factor of, like, of him. And then he does the whole, like, was he singing the fucking
Oklahoma song? And that's what Jack is saying in here. Sorry, it was just in the chat. Jack is saying that.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
And in the end of the book, the janitor dies, having actually created something while in the movie. His supposed last moments are a fantasy of Oklahoma and already established work. That is true to a point, but I think that Jake the janitor and Jake in the book and in the movie are significantly different characters. And I think that how Ian Reed treats the janitor and how Kaufman treats the janitor is just so different. Like, and that's why I say in my video that, yeah, you'll get spoilers, I guess, if you read the book or watch the movie, but the book and the movie are saying very different things. And in the movie, he takes that song from Oklahoma, but he does repurpose it for himself. But at the same time, I don't think that ending song was necessarily the climax of it. Like, I think that I think that the movie has a lot to say about how we process media and how we process everything that we take in, and it's definitely almost like, it's a take on postmodernism and pastiche as well, and it's about how, like, this media, the media that we consume becomes our lives. And I think that it made sense within the movie to end it like that, but in the book it made sense for him to end it by, the revelation that he wrote the book. And that's why I like having read both, because it's different takes on the same basic story. But what were you going to say, Mark? If you can remember. Sorry.
Oh God. No, it's okay. Yeah, actually, well, with that, I think I was gonna say something about the Tulsi Town, but then it made me think of something else while we were talking about the Oklahoma. I don't know much about Oklahoma. I tried to look into it, but first, like, I literally was just looking up the Cliff Notes because I'm not that familiar with the performing arts and stuff. I'm trying to get into it, but so I actually don't know what the hell are the parallels, but there are apparently a lot of parallels between Oklahoma and this, and that was completely the invention of Charlie Kaufman, I think. Like,
yeah.
Maybe there was I don't know if there was a tiny mention of it in the book or something like that, but then
No.
Charlie Kaufman really rolled with it or something. But
not that I remember. There's no even mention of what state they're in the book. Like, it's yeah.
It's I think there's a line when he's doing his final, like, song and stuff, and he says that I dreamed a girl and she was the perfect girl and all like that. It's like, yeah, it just plays into that whole thing that this world is completely designed of his own mind, and all the things that he knows and likes have, like, occupied it, and that this situation turns out the way it is because it's just, like, it's what he knows. And it's just it's kind of sad. I wonder how many times the thing is, like, it makes me think about the Tulsi Town girls. and all of the cups, the discarded cups that she
Mm-hmm.
finds. How many times has he like attempted this or tried to hold on? He's literally grasping at straws at life, and
Yeah.
like like how many like scenarios has he really gone through? And this seems like it's really the last time, or at least you can interpret it that way.
Yeah, because remember how she says, like, how long have I been seeing him? 6 weeks, 7 weeks, it feels like forever. Has it
Yeah.
been has he been has this character been there with him for 6 weeks or 7 weeks? Has he been um you know what I mean? Like, has he been attempting this for that long? But then she says it feels like forever, so maybe she was always kind of with him in a sense, but it was within the last few weeks that that thought entered her mind, or that thought entered his mind. We don't know what, like, which cycle this is, except that it's the last one. This is the cycle of self-actualization, where he takes her to the home. He invites the unconscious feminine into his memories and into his subconscious, into his true self, you know. And then that's when he makes his decision, when he's able to look her right in the face and have her look him right in the face and hug each other in that embrace, you know. So yeah. Maybe, yeah, I mean, I did notice that all the Tulsi Town milkshakes, you know, there.
Yeah, that kind of fucked me up, and I was thinking, like, if it's not her, like, who is it? And is it that she's just like, is it the same? Like, to me, I think that maybe he's doing a Rolodex in his brain of like anyone who will sort of fit the role in a way. He's literally trying to form his his ideal woman, and it's something to kind of keep a hold of and keep him going. And he's struggling, and he's just inventing, like, and again, he's just pulling from real life. So he sees a woman like in a fleeting moment, and it's just like plants her face on a skeleton, and you know, he dumps his personality into them, and he just tries to form them in a certain way, and he just tries to make it work. And it's like he goes through the same scenario over and over and over again, maybe like the whole like meeting the parents and then ending up at the high school and them having a romance, because it's clear that he wants to, like, he's guiding her into a romantic situation.
Mm-hmm.
He's like very much steering like the events of the night in a certain direction, and it's clear that he just, like, in the end, he just wants to get some. He's singing the fucking like Christmas song, and she's like, is like, oh, the rape song, and he's like, and he's he's like, he can't even let himself have like a fucking sex fantasy. Like, it literally like contradicts and calls him out for it. It's so funny. It's horrible, but like it's just kind of funny.
So Daddy Denied says, I've come to think there's just a lot of cups because he'd get ice cream before work every day. I mean, that's also very possible. Like, it's possible that was the only comfort that he had in his life. Like, that was the only little bit of happiness, was Tulsi Town, because, you know, he's singing the jingle too. Like, he sings, like, he knows that jingle by heart, and
it's a precious memory.
And I think that maybe that's his like, it gives him that will to live, or maybe the whole idea of Tulsi Town is like that sweetness of life, like that will to live. But when he gets it that night, he's like, it's too sweet, and he doesn't drink any of it. He doesn't eat any of it. And maybe maybe that is metaphorical in the sense that he had all these other times where there was that silver lining, you know, that. Because remember, he talks about
they mentioned silver lining.
Yeah, maybe like he's able to find that silver lining each day before work. He's able to find that silver lining, that thing, that little bit of happiness to get him through everything. And just with this day, he just doesn't. He sees it and he rejects it. I mean, that's also a way you could look at it. Like, as I said, you know, I'm not one to say there's only one right way to look at these things. There's long as
when you. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I was gonna say when you left to go check on the vandals or the rapers trying to get into your place.
The movie buff fans.
They got you. Come in. I was saying that like a symptom of depression, which you might have, is that things that once brought you pleasure become numb to you suddenly, and this ice cream is just something that's like very nostalgic. It's obviously it looks from it's like from an older generation that's just still alive for some reason. And it's like clearly like probably something from his childhood even that stuck around because that's like small town stuff. And he holds on to it. He's probably having one every single day. It's just what makes him happy, you know? Mm-hmm. And you're right. It's just like this is just one of those days where he has a Tulsi Town and it's too sweet and he doesn't like it. There's something wrong with it. Yeah. And it's just like it tastes like shit in his mouth now. And he can't even hold on to that. He can't even hold on to like a fucking ice cream anymore. Yeah. He can't even enjoy that shit.
And it's funny because in the book it's Dairy Queen, but them changing it to Tulsi Town because they couldn't like get the branding or like the trademark, I actually think makes it more interesting because it makes it feel more like that like old small town thing. It's almost like it works better as a Tulsi Town or dare I say it, Tasty Freeze, like because it feels more like small town America than I've seen a lot of Dairy Queens in small town America. Like that definitely is small town. Like when you're in small town America, you see things like Dairy Queen and you see Sonic a lot. Like the two big fast food chains I see. Because I like last summer Daddy Denied says also the car ride scene seemed to me to represent what it's like for him to drive to work every day, just talking to himself, getting more sick of everything around him. Yeah, that's a possibility. Although I think the car ride scenes too are a little bit more like metaphorical than literal as well, because it's like this encroaching darkness and just this storm of snow and coldness that's just like building up. Like this encroaching darkness and coldness and snow and death and just all of this is just like building up to the point where it's overwhelming and you like can't even see the characters in the car. And he even says like we don't live in objective reality. Like when they turn off to go to that school, he says something like that. But that's obvious for the movie. The movie's not objective reality. It's metaphorical. Yeah. Because we exist, like we understand the world through metaphor, and that was something that was talked about in the book, is like how we understand the world through metaphor, and I think that that's also true of the movie, is that his memories and his fantasy is metaphor for how he's feeling or his or his life and things like that, and it's through these metaphors he's able to come to terms with all of these things. There's a lot going on. Like we're 2 hours and 12 minutes in, and that's how long the movie is.
We've easily make a long film as long as the film.
Yeah. Let's bring in Mahler.
Except for like Mahler's super into like love him or hate him, he's super into like the kind of nitpicky stuff. So I'm trying to imagine like an alternate universe Mahler where he actually says none of this makes sense, like, and all the like logic breaking moments he's like, that's dumb. We're like, you can't physically do that. I don't know.
To throw, I'd like to imagine an alternate universe Mahler where he doesn't only talk about Star Wars.
Has he ever actually talked about a non-Star Wars thing? Because every single video I've seen from him, a recommendation, is just fucking Star Wars.
No, and he's still working on Star Wars: The Force Awakens, right? He's on his.
Yeah,
he's still working on that. Too long, honestly. Like, whatever. I'll let him do his thing, but I don't have 2.5 hours to do a YouTube. Every frame of piss.
I was gonna say that this movie is a lot to fucking unpack, though. It's a really, really dense film. There's no waste
Can't
of
wait
time.
for the cinema sins.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh
Holy
no.
shit. It's the ending sequence where like the janitor's grabbing on her. It's like there's no lap dance in this thing. Ding. So, like, she doesn't get naked. Ding.
No, she just didn't earlier he say that she was studying rabies? Man, they can't keep her character
Yes.
straight. Ding. It's like,
Oh my god.
Wow, they wasted a lot of ice cream in that dumpster, huh?
yeah.
A sin just for not eating your ice cream. Ding. Wow,
They,
guys.
they wouldn't have let a woman with that rash prepare their ice cream. Ding! That's a health violation.
There are 3 people working in the stand at the same time. No one's even there. Yeah, can we just turn to the nostalgia critic?
Why are they varnishing the back of the back of a Tulsi town? That doesn't make any sense. Ding! Oh yeah, it's being varnished because he's varnishing the floors at the time. And that's why they smell the varnish.
I was gonna ask because I actually had no fucking clue what that meant. And then she, yeah.
Yeah, that's that. At least that's what I took from it. So
Yeah.
a little bit. That's like a tiny thing. The ice cream just looks gross. That's what Monsieur Chinchilla says. Yeah, it does kind of. They shoot it to make it look gross. That's the thing.
Yeah,
You know?
it's so like it's just like goop, and it's fucking like shot in a way where it's undiscernible. Like you can't even tell what the fuck it is. It's just like it's just slime.
Yeah, it is. It's gross looking. I mean, like no doubt. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Gosh, have we? I'm trying to think if we missed anything.
It feels like we've just covered every angle at this point.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we missed anything or not. There's gonna be like little things. Oh, when she's going down the stairs and it's like this, like she goes down the stairs and she's back up at the top, coming down.
Yeah.
You know, and she's going like it's almost like a Mobius strip, like how they shoot it, where she's going down, but then she is back at the top, and it's like it reminded me of the final scene of. Have you seen that movie, The Believer, with Ryan Gosling?
Oh no.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
So, if I make a video on this, I'll definitely be put on some. I'll get a lot of hate. But what the movie?
Oh my god, that movie! Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the depiction of death within that film, the Jewish death, is one of the characters. And it's almost the exact same thing as, and I'm thinking of ending things. They're walking down
this film.
Yeah, they're walking down the stairs, and then they start right back at the other. You know, it's like this unending staircase. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Is that, I mean, considering Charlie Kaufman's Jewish, I mean, thinking about, just thinking about that idea, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like. I know that a lot was going through the head, and it was just sort of like I think with that scene, I think that there are ways you could unpack it from a reasonable perspective, but I do think from that shot, it's more of giving you this, it's like this feeling of like that the physical space isn't exactly real. It's not exactly a physical space that she's in. This house, you know. So I do kind of feel like that. Let me think. I mean, yeah, labeling everything, you know, Jake's bedroom, the Alzheimer's, getting his mom dying, and then his dad young coming in. Because I guess when you see somebody die, you remember youth. Yeah, I think we covered. I mean, not only did we cover, I'm thinking of ending things. I mean, how many other tangents did we go on talking about potential furry action movies?
Yeah, should I ping Epop so we can start talking about cuties?
Yeah, let's let's leave it at like maybe just another 15 minutes, and then I do have work in the morning. So ping ePalps.
Okay.
We'll get in here. Um, General, somebody. Oh, okay, somebody just like pinged me. Yes, we'll see if ePalps comes in here to talk about Cuties, the controversy. For one, I'm not gonna watch Cuties. I don't have any desire to.
No.
It's just sort of like that thing. I mean, I saw people were like, oh, "Okay, are you gonna say killing is bad by making a snuff film?" You know, it is like that. It's like you already know that doing this is bad. You already know that sexualizing kids is bad. Like, you shouldn't have it, but don't make a movie that says that it's bad, but it sexualizes kids. But I don't know if you saw ER's Twitter thread earlier today about Cuties.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he usually has the better takes on these kinds of things. And I think that he's probably right, because this whole like, oh, but look at the
There he is.
faces of disgust. We're saying it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
You guys still live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, but ER was saying that it's actually anti like Muslim conservatism, and that she sees this like twerking as a means of liberation because that's the director's own personal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's very brave. It's very unique.
so you guys watched the movie.
Yeah, so at one
That's
point,
the entire fucking thing.
yeah, so what happened was, at one point I was like, okay, so there's a lot of controversy around this. When it comes out, I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to see if it's really as bad as everyone's saying it's going to be. You know what? I'm going to give it a fair shot. So I get me, ePulps, and some other people into a call, and we start watching the film, and yeah, it turns out it is really that bad.
In fact, it's worse than I thought. I think I was eating at one point and I want to like throw up, I swear.
Yeah, one of the people we were with left like a third of the way through.
Yeah, I heard that it has. Well, I mean, people have made lists of like what happens. Like they take nude photos of themselves and post it online.
Yeah, no,
there's
the
the
main
part
girl,
where
okay, this part's
there's
especially bad. So he gets her phone taken away by father, stepfather, I don't know. Okay.
I think it was her father.
Yeah, and then she's just begging for it back, and when all else fails, she tries to strip for the man. Okay.
What?
And then immediately after that, she runs into the bathroom, takes a picture of her vagina, and then posts it on the internet.
What?
That was definitely the worst part. Like,
Yeah, like the entire time I was thinking, like, what the fuck are you doing?
it was bad before. It was really bad before, but that was the worst. That was truly the.
Yeah,
The
not
teaching
only does that just
awfulness.
not make any sense, like, character-wise, but it's like, why the fuck would you write that?
That's disgusting.
It really is. And then all the close-ups on the 11-year-old.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been so
It's very
bad if it wasn't,
comfortable.
like, all a bunch of, like, close-ups and shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Leery. Ugh.
yeah, it's
Yeah, like,
just,
maybe if this was, like, a book, or if it was, like, animated or something, it wouldn't have been as bad. But the fact that
I
it's
was
a
literally gonna say
live-action film...
I think if they just aged up the girls, I'd say by 5 years, they could kind of get their message across pretty similarly without being seen as fucking creeps. That's what I'd say.
yeah, like here's a big problem with it. You can have this message of
Yeah.
whatever, but at the end of the day, that these are real children that they're making do all of this stuff. Like when you write a book, you're not. It's just words. You know what I mean? You're not affecting anybody, but when you're actually taking these kids and having 650 kids audition by sending twerking tapes to the producers, like, you know what I mean? Like you're actually exploiting real children. It's no longer fake. Like, you know,
Yeah,
that's
it's like
that's the thing.
we need to talk about Kevin shot up an actual school.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like a pro veganism movie where like they just keep killing animals on screen. They keep chopping their heads off. They go full fucking cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, just like a Saw movie.
Guys, we're sending you a message by killing these things, okay?
Yeah, it's like you
For the
shouldn't.
message, guys.
Don't do what we do. Don't do
Don't
what
be
we're
like
doing.
me.
Hire ISIS to shoot
No,
the
no, no.
movie.
I can't wait for the sequel where it's all about like child pornography and it's like don't consume child pornography like we're doing right here.
Yeah, here's
Don't
the child
do it.
pornography that
IMAX
we
screen.
made so that we can show you how bad it is.
We
Yeah.
only made this to stop you from making your own.
Yeah, this is for example purposes.
There's pro-vegan movies. They've done that before. Yeah, I think I saw like an eco movie. I think I saw like some eco movie where it's like they actually did like destroy shit and like kill animals. Jack Kentner says, "I still understand why Cuties is so popular with critics. Do they honestly see something that everyone else doesn't?" No,
film.
I feel like, I feel like there's just this sort of critics are definitely it's like emperor's robes with critics a lot of times. Like people think that
Yeah.
like they just go, whoa, well, this one person liked it or, whatever. And honestly, I think some of these critics are just creeps. Do we know if the film was a honey trap by the U.S. government to easily detect the pedos, those who are doing mental gymnastics trying to defend it? That would be a pretty based thing. If that's true, like if it's like they're like working with Netflix to see like where like people are like who's pausing on this scene, who's trying to take screen captures, and stuff like that, and they're just like
Oh my
putting them on
God.
lists.
How do
That-
I take
That'd
a
actually be
screenshot,
genius.
guys?
That I would say like okay, that would be cool, but at the same time it's still like not cool because they were
The
still
collateral
using,
damage of doing that?
yeah exactly, like they're still using these kids.
Yeah. The thing is too is that like it's not even a good film. Like if you just take away all the creepy shit, it's just a really just mediocre film, like 4 out of 10.
Yeah, like that's what I heard, that it's actually like apart from the shock scenes, it's just a really
Oh,
boring
it's
movie.
just a bad movie, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's like one
It's
part
boring.
where it's like there's like a girl in the hallway, it's trying to like run away from her parents, and they go into the main character's house, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, there's a little like scratch in your here. Here, let me just pull this medicine out of fucking nowhere and just rub it on your head."
Yeah, and
Yeah.
a funny thing too that like I wanted to bring up, talking about critics being pedos, is that I mean there have been articles in the last few years like from Salon and stuff like defending pedophilia, and there has been this whole like movement to normalize maps and shit like that. I'm like, no, come on, like kids like no matter how you see it, children cannot consent. Anybody that wants to do anything with children in that way, I mean, it's a predator. It's not two adults. It's
It's high art, bro. You gotta let go.
but and I'm
Yeah,
not.
it's like Desmond is Amazing from back in the day. That whole
bro.
controversy.
Yeah, it's like these kids. They're too young to. I mean, I didn't understand shit when I was 13 years old. You know what I mean? And how is this gonna affect these children for their life? That this is what they're known for. Is
Yeah, like when I was 11, the only thing that mattered to me
I
was,
started
okay, can I
cuties,
beat
guys.
Pokemon today?
yeah, exactly. Like I didn't. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even think about that stuff, and it's just so like it's depressing just to see this. It's depressing to see the sexualization of children. And then there was that article saying that like, we have to like come to terms with children's sexuality. Did you guys see that? And I'm like, what sexuality? What are you talking about? That's not.
Sex ed.
The
and that's
only
it, man.
reason they have
Start
a
and stop.
sexuality in the first place is because of you fuckers.
Yeah, because
And
you
then
guys are putting your own perversions onto them. Seriously. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
I wasn't thinking about that shit when I was that age.
yeah,
Like,
I wasn't.
and
I wasn't either, dude. I wasn't interested in girls when I was 13. Like you're 12, you're 13, you're interested in girls, but you're not really gonna act on it or whatever. Like that's the part where you're just awkward talking to girls and shit like that. But that was like a really small part of who I was at that time.
Past that phase.
I really cared about going home and playing Halo 3 because that's what was popular at that time. Halo 3 custom games, Fat Man, zombies, sand trap.
Yeah, when we were all 14, we just cared about video games.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? This whole push to sexualize children and normalize this shit is just disgusting. It's repulsive. Yeah, this is the black pill corner, human kebab.
The black pill corner.
Here's something. Here's something you gotta know.
I mean, to be fair, that does fit with I'm thinking of ending things.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean,
I've legitimately become fucking depressed recently just because of this shit. Because it's just so sad to see on like my feed constantly, and the fact that it's up for debate at all and shit, and also that Twitter like has all these map accounts and they aren't taken down, but I get taken down for like, I don't know, just like a bad word. Like I think I dropped the R word or something. Tard word.
Did you see Rusty Cage got his TikTok suspended permanently?
Really?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That was funny though. Honestly, it was worth because he had this character named Dr. Retardo, and he he had the puppet, and he would do the puppet things and then put different people's TikToks underneath them like he was controlling them. And the last one that got him suspended was when he did Ethan Klein, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he touches the Jew, huh?
Don't question it.
Hey, none of that here.
Yeah, disavow.
Disavow.
Corner Sports Israel.
Oh,
Please don't take us down, YouTube.
Kino Corner loves everyone. I'll have anyone come into my coming to my streams. Let me see. Internet freak. My FBI handler told me not to worry about maps, so you shouldn't either. Hey, didn't maps start off as like a 4chan prank? Like,
probably.
Yeah.
Might have.
I think that the whole term map was like a 4chan psyop. 4chan prank. You know, just like how this never meant like white power or whatever. Like, it was just because
the sign.
It was just because they saw, like, I remember actually being in that thread. It was just because there was a lot of photos of celebrities doing it, and people were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if we just like completely like ruined this for all these celebrities?" I mean, they're literally calling black people white nationalists for that. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know, that's the best part. What was? Oh yeah, they attempted. This one didn't work, but I think it's just also like it's a little too obvious. But when they attempted to change the LGBT pride flag to just brown, just one big brown flag, it's like it's all the colors mixed. It's like, but like they didn't do it. They didn't take the bait.
No. So the funny thing about that though is that to the pride flag they did add brown and black for POCs or for black people or BLM or something like that. It was
really
added, yeah. So that, I mean, TJ says, although legit question, if for some reason Movie Bob hopped off his BS where he just blocks everyone, people that criticize him, would you have him on? Would I have Movie Bob on? Yeah, sure, I would have Movie Bob on.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, honestly, like I would have anybody on. I would love, like, as I said, like I just like interesting people, and that's sort of just where I stand on things. Movie Bob sure is interesting. Maybe not in the best way, but he sure is interesting. And I think that having him on would be entertaining.
At some point in my life, I have to have a conversation with Chris Chan.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Oh no, I can't. I don't want to say that publicly. But yeah, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
So Tony Bamalaboni says, should I watch this? The description doesn't reveal much, and I need another input on it. Are you talking about this stream or the movie? I'll give you. I'm on normal latency, so it's going to take him a minute to answer. But yeah, the stream or the movie? Because the movie, yes. The stream, I don't know. We're kind of all over the place. I can do a killer Christian impression. Actually, I don't know if that's something you should be.
Christian.
I don't know if doing a killer Christian impression is something you should be proud of. Oh.
Yeah, you listen to the Julie tape one too many times.
Oh no! Yeah, it just becomes ingrained. There's a special little place in your memory for just that one, just for the Julie tape.
TJ, save this for the server because it
Yeah,
was we're already on way too many tangents here. I mean the movie, yeah. You should definitely watch the movie. I really liked it. I mean, obviously, we all really liked it. That's why we were talking about it tonight. So, I mean, we talked
For
about
2
cuties.
hours.
We talked about cuties, but it's not because we liked it. Yeah, you said I've only seen one of his vids. Yet you say you can do a really good impression. Yeah, that's something. That's definitely something. Again, I don't know if. I mean, I would like if you want to do the impression, then sure, but do the impression. I don't know. I'm just kind of getting like it's
Get leafy.
It's in SpongeBob they say things get weird after 8:30, and here it is 8:36. So things are getting weird because it's after 8:30. But but yeah, I mean, I think that tonight was a really good stream. I'm gonna have to be kind of closing this off in the next 2 minutes. Thank you for everyone who came on, and I think this is my most
there's a type limit for
Disliked? It's because I'm here.
Yeah, dude, you really must have pissed off Movie Bob, man. What the fuck?
It's so weird. It's always
damn.
like these weird takes too. It's never like me actually intentionally trying to piss people off. It's people finding like these random things that I've said, and then they won't even tackle the whole argument. They'll just take one little slice of it and go and isolate it and go, "This is the worst ever." It's like, oh, here's some added context. So like, ignore that man. Don't listen to that man. It's like it's so weird.
So when are you gonna piss off the Spoony one?
Oh fuck.
that man's like on the brink. He really is. Those descriptions
Oh,
are
no.
scary.
Hey, Tony Bamalabooney.
I had that whole. There's a fucking type limit for YouTube. I had a like whole paragraph about cuties typed out in your fucking stream. Okay.
Hey, Tony, I'm going to give you... Here we go. This is only good for 1 hour. It's only good for 5 uses. I'm generating a new link because I'm usually very... but here, this is to the Discord server. This is to the I guess I can't really invite people. The fuck did I?
Just put the last 4 letter or the numbers at the end of the link. You know.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Tony? Hit me up on Twitter. If you have a Twitter, hit me up on Twitter. Send me a message. I have my DMs open, and I'll send you a private invite because I keep the Discord private. I don't like putting out like a public thing, and you'll see too that I like a few days ago I put out an invite link that was only good for 10 uses, and I deleted it after 24 hours. It was only good for 24 hours. So just hit me up on Twitter in a DM, and I'll send you just a private invite. It's just having public Discord is just a pain in the ass, and it's just inviting a lot of trouble in. And I'm so busy. I just don't have the mental capacity to deal with Discord drama. So I just keep everything. I just keep everything small and contained. Yeah. How many dislikes do we have?
10. 10 to 18.
Wow.
How did you already get 10?
Most of those were like really early in the stream.
Hot takes,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I know. Over a fucking really shitty fucking game. Like I can't believe people are dying on this fucking hill. Like I'd understand Death Stranding when I had that fucking take, but Resident Evil 3 remake is actual just like objective garbage, and I can't believe people are throwing themselves on spears for it.
Yeah, I honestly don't get it.
Yeah, show yourselves in chat.
Yeah, if you did,
Yeah, come out here, pussies. We're the cool kids in the playground.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so as I said earlier, I have like 2 or 3 people that insta dislike everything that I put out. Like, no joke. Trevor Resnick says I farted. Good. I bet you feel a lot better now.
Your work, by the way.
Oh, what?
I said Trevor Resnick. I was gonna be like, I love your work, as in Trent Reznor.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just like I mistake him for somebody else.
Yeah.
Great album.
Yeah.
Roll the Dragon tattoo. Mwah. Great stuff.
Oh yeah, Downward Spiral. Yeah, that's right. Downward Spiral. Imp Lemon stole it from 9 Inch Nails. He says, I do, thank you. But it's not. It is. It should be taken. Yes.
We talk about serious stuff here.
I agree. I agree with you, Tony. Like you can argue that it's not terrible, but like it is pretty meh, and I'd say that's egregious too. But
I think too that it's just like it was the follow up to the Resident Evil 2 remake, which was really good, and like that remake was really good, and then the Resident Evil 3 remake, you can beat it in like 4 hours, and it's just like.
It was an afterthought.
Yeah.
They just slapped it together. It's just.
I think too that people wouldn't be that upset if it wasn't a $60 game.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
I even said it's like make this a $30, $20 game or something. This is fine, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of things come down to it, like the pricing isn't right, and that is what upsets people. Because like when you think $60 game, like I can with $60 I could buy The Witcher 3 when it released, right? And that's and that's just like super expansive and in depth and it's just like you can get so much with that game, and it's just like when a game comes out when it's like 4 hours and it's very shallow and all that kind of stuff, $60, and I'm just like, man, comparing that to the $60 of value I get from The Witcher versus the $60 to pay for Resident Evil 3, like Resident Evil 3 isn't even close to being worth it.
No.
And it's just like if you won't piss off people if you. Jay says, I am not only a shitter but a pisser as well.
A man of class.
And a coomer. The the Coomer corner. The Kino Coomer.
The Kino.
Oh yes, that coon was pure Kino right there.
That was pornography. True Kino.
Anne Frankenberry says, I just got Disney Plus and there's nothing on it but kids' movies. Lame. I only use Disney Plus to watch The Simpsons. Everything else sucks.
Pretty much.
And Mulan. Let's talk about Mulan. All right, you know what? I'm going to end this stream in 4 minutes exactly. So let's talk about Mulan. I'm not watching it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not going to.
Not kept up with it at all. I just know people are not happy.
What is becoming my chat? People are sharded. my chat has become pee pee poo poo. Honestly. Kino chat. Yes, Kino chat.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting demonetized. But it doesn't matter.
Where's the clanky?
Yeah, I do want to point out with the Mulan remake, box office was 5.9 million, and the budget was 200 million.
Yeah, no, and okay, so you also have to think about this with movies, right? So the budget was 200 million, but then you have to think, usually, like the rule of thumb is you double that because of all the marketing, all the press, like all the other stuff that goes into it. Usually you can like double it because they're going to put as much marketing money in it as it costs to make the film. So really the number is probably closer to 400 million that Disney put into it. And
Yeah, let me do some quick math here.
I'm gonna do some quick math. Yeah, they lost a lot of money.
They lost a shit ton of money.
Yeah. No, supposedly it made
I gotta
20
calculate that before I believe it.
supposedly it made 23 million in its week in China, but the Chinese hate it, so the drop off is going to be huge. But and they said compare that to The Lion King in its first day made like 43 million. So even Mulan, which is a Disney movie about China, did like 50%, or actually really less than 50%, because that's over the course of the whole weekend. And in The Lion King, it was like that was the opening day. So it did so much worse than a movie about like African animals, and Mulan was like trying to cater to the Chinese, and so it just like, and even that failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you know,
All right, so it made 0.014% back.
Oh god.
oof. Yeah, that's a big oof. Yeah, Disney's going to be losing a lot of money from that. And I saw that Disney's being investigated for being compliant in human rights abuses, since they were thanking the people that headed up those those
No
Uyghur.
way.
Yeah, so Disney's also got some shit they're going to have to deal with legally, possibly. I mean, who knows? You know, I mean, these people are so fucking wealthy, they can just whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
all
not
know.
like $400 million is a huge loss for Disney at this point.
Dude, you know what's happening? Disney bought Fox, and they're like, it. Have you seen that movie, The Blob? Disney's
yeah.
Yeah,
like
no,
The
that
Blob,
sounds
right?
bad.
Disney's like The Blob. It's just like consuming everything in its path, and I'm pretty sure it bought Fox to kill Fox. But what's going to happen at some point is that their bubble's going to become so big, and maybe it's Mulan. I mean, maybe it's not Mulan. Maybe it's something down the road that there's going to be something. There's going to be a big hit that Disney takes that. I mean, they own like 40% of the movie industry, and it's just going to cause a complete collapse. It's going to be like the early 80s video game industry.
We just gotta accelerate, bro. Kino acceleration.
Acceleration.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get J-Ray on to talk about that. That'll that'll be the next stream. Filmmaking acceleration.
We gotta sell everything to Disney, guys.
Yeah, sell everything, and then don't see any movies ever.
Yeah, just stop watching movies.
Yeah, accelerate it.
Burst that bubble.
Pirate everything.
Complete and utter collapse. And on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you all next time on the KinoCast.
Bye.
The